I wanted to jump right in. We've got three boys in a very troubling set of social and magical circumstances. We've got a ton of we have 10 vivid supporting cast characters already, which I'm like, seriously? Did we actually manage to amass all these people? And and the answer is yes, we do. And some of them are, over the hill and stuff like that in terms of being a little bit away from the immediate village area, but they're all there. Thought I'd give you a little portrait of what some of them are doing.
Okay, cool.
Um, Eben, the shaman, is collecting spirits.
Okay.
You've already seen that he's been traveling on the spirit plane while his fetch inhabits his body. He was already doing that once in the last episode. He's continuing to do it. And you have noticed that the spirits are starting to cluster thick and full in his property.
Okay.
He seems to be, that he can go and give up power to amass more and more spirits to hover about him.
Why would I think he'd be doing that, Ron? Would Alcadon have any? Have you ever seen him do this kind of?
He's never seen this intense kinds of focus before.
Okay.
If you want, you can make a roll for intelligence times 5. I'll give you some information. If you nail your spirit lore inside that, I will, basically get your spirit lore for a really good answer, and int times
Okay.
5 for a decent answer, for an okay answer.
Okay. Spirit lore is 25. Int times 5 is 65. So I got 87. Sorry.
Oh well.
My
Okay,
favorite
so
dice rolling continues.
now, what spells do you have for Alkerton?
And a quick look. Demoralize and healing, and then the shaman training, spirit lore, detect spirit, and bound spirit.
So you do have detect spirit and bind spirit. You are
Yeah.
going to learn a new spell. And
Okay.
the way you learn, actually, the way you're going to get this spell is that Eben will have your bound spirit memorize it. So its intelligence is used to store this spell.
Okay.
And so you can cast it, but its intelligence is storing it, not yours. You also should know that you can use your bound spirit's power to cast spells.
Okay.
You can cast the spells that they have stored, and you can use their power to fund spells. That's what you only have one bound spirit, but you can do that. As I recall, we did roll for your spirit, and he isn't.
Yeah, it's pretty good actually.
Well,
Power 19, Dex 20, Int 10. Yeah.
that doesn't sound familiar, really. Power 19 for your spirit? Brutal.
That's what I've written down, unless I've got it wrong.
Huh. Well, in that case, you are all kinds of awesome. I did not
But you
realize your bound
correct
spirit
it,
was that
Ron, if
huge.
it's different to your records.
I don't have a record, which makes it very likely for you. I just don't remember it being that monstrous. But you've got a hell of a bound spirit there. So, so that's something to keep in mind. You've actually got some clout, at that level.
Okay.
You can also send your bound spirit to attack in spirit combat.
Okay.
And that means it can attack like people with bodies. And with a power of 19, that can lock somebody down real hard. Okay. Remember that a person who's in spirit combat either ignores it, in which case they just allow the thing to feed off them while they do stuff, or they have to basically give up all of their activity in order to concentrate on the spirit combat.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'm wondering if I rolled on the wrong thing or something when you told me how I got.
No, it's 3d6 plus 6. I mean,
okay.
It could be perfectly.
Okay, so 3d6 plus 6.
Yeah, you're in the range. You just rolled high, but
on 3 dice. Yeah. Okay.
So that's not crazy. I was just kind of blinked because I'm like, really? So that's cool. Anyway, so you've got a big old fund there, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. The spell that it has The spell, did I tell you? Spirit Shield.
Spirit Shield. Okay.
So you now have all 3 spells accessible to you in the battle magic list.
Cool. Thank you.
So basically he's amping you up, right? In terms of, giving you a little bit more spell expertise, and he seems to be gathering that. Okay, good enough. What it looks like, of course, is that he walks around and concentrates and talks at various different important spots in the community. That's how he does it.
Okay.
He is not going off into the forest to do this. He is a town shaman. He is not a forest shaman. All right. So the other adults or other individuals we could talk about. The Alkerton. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. No, Jonathan is who I'm interested in now. Jonathan, you're on a bit of a time budgety type thing when you remember you had spoken with Yoreen about how the next morning she wanted to know all about what you learned from Alkerton.
Yes.
So are you going to go and meet with her at your sort of meet me out by the pasture sort of
Yeah,
assignation?
I'm definitely going to hang out with her there. I am. Yeah, I will head back keen as mustard. Although, I didn't manage to ingratiate myself with Elton the way I wanted, but I'll work out some way of kind of working my way around that.
Excellent.
And when we left it as well, the other thing was, of course, the thing that last happened to Jonathan is he'd been attacked by the spirits of reprisal, and he'd fought them off, but he'd obviously realised that he'd been warned by the goddess that
right.
his actions were not to the required standard.
Right, and also that since you did get a power gain roll, I think it was a very significant activity in that in many ways you were rewarded as well as warned.
Yeah.
Right. So the other thing I just want to point out is that when you are, what? Let's make a listen roll. As you're approaching, you have to go past the pasture to the edge of the woods. That's where Yoreen wanted to meet you. Make a listen roll as you approach past the big, enormous, shaggy cow things.
I don't have listen down as a skill.
Listen is, I believe, it defaults that everybody gets, and so if you just give it its, I'll give you a moment to look up its default, which I have listed in the handout. And
yeah, I've got it as a perception skill at 25.
25.
The base is 25, but wait, it's modified by perception, whatever your bonus is for that.
Plus the handy plus 0.
Okay, well, 25 or less.
95. So no, I definitely don't spot whatever it is that's out there.
You certainly don't. Right.
My mind is somewhat distracted by thoughts of my encounter to come.
Yes. And so let's see. But however, I shall have to make someone else's listen roll at this time, which I shall do with my cool dice. There. For that listen roll. And I'm looking at somebody's listen, which is right here. Right. Well, they don't do very well either. That's too bad. Because you are not too far away from the little clump of trees and spot where you were planning to meet her, and you're familiar with the area. You grew up here, so of course you know pretty much this whole the lay of all this land. When you see a scuffle and a scramble in that very spot.
Okay, well, I'll head towards it. I mean, it could be her and in trouble, right?
Right. Oh, it easily could be, right? And then when you get there, make a scan roll, please. Doing my best to get all the skill rolls I possibly can in there for improvement.
I know. It's got to succeed at some of them, right?
I know.
Yeah, that's a problem.
08. I succeeded
You
a scan roll.
do
Oh,
succeed
hey.
in your scan roll, and in fact, you do quite well. Mark it so we know to check it for an improvement. And well, that's quite interesting because even though Yoreen is coming toward you with a smile of welcome on her face and smoothing her garment in front of her body, you can see one of your age mates, a person in your cohort of the village, a person you know, kind of moving away from this clearing in a hasty manner. And he was just about to be out of sight before, but your sharp eye has spotted him, and his name is Jodny, Jodny.
Right.
Uh,
Jordan.
yeah, born to a council family, and somewhat. Oh, I don't want to front load against him. Let's just say that some people don't like him.
Okay.
And so anyway, though, he is, and he kind of is looking around him in a sort of, he's hasty at the moment, and just as your eye catches him, he changes his posture so that he's just walking along here. And so when he, is walking away a considerable distance from you now, he's got kind of a just taking a passing stroll through the woods kind of posture going on. And
Okay.
Yoreen, of course, is speaking quickly and is saying to you, Alkerton, I've been waiting for you.
I see. I hope you weren't waiting long on your own and it wasn't too boring for you.
So there's that. And now, as long as we're just switching around to everybody, right? So I should also point out one mechanical thing I did not bring up in the second session, which I should have. That following the events of the first session, both Alkerton and Binri should have +1 charisma.
Yay.
Okay.
So it might make differences to some stats, might it, I wonder?
It may or may not. Depends on what you hopped over. 12 to 13 will make a big difference. 16 to 17 will make a big difference.
Okay.
So take a look.
Yeah.
Oh,
I go to
did?
13.
Oh, well, you just went up in like 5% and a bunch of stuff then. Gordon, that was an exceptionally triumphalist cackle on your part. We're grown-ups, Gordon. We're not supposed to get this excited about this.
You're allowed to be as excited as you want to be. Yeah. Well, and I got to admit, so the last session I got a basic +5 in manipulation, and I got nothing in manipulation. Oh, man. I got nothing in manipulation.
Oh, yes. Well, we have another adult. Sorry, we have another adult who attends to, associated with Binri at the moment. Vakia, upon your return to the village area, has, for lack of a better word, been rather rude. She has appropriated food and drink, or at least asked for it in a way that wasn't especially deferential, and is sitting out in front of everybody in a well-traveled part of the village, in a sort of sprawly seated, dare you to do something about it kind of way. She has made a bit of a spectacle of herself and is eating with relish, and not being particularly social about it. All of the social norms about how you go into a new village, she's ignoring. So right now, there she is, stuffing her face.
Yeah, Benry will probably kind of bask a little bit in the aura of her defiance and just following her own opinion. But
Okay.
he's also not quite bold enough to join in and ask for food of his own or anything like that. So
Right.
he's kind of hovering right at the edge there of oh, this is cool. I'm hanging out with this rebel here, but isn't quite getting into the full mode of trying to emulate her or anything like that just yet.
I just would like to point out to you then some of the reactions. Since you're in the vicinity, since Benry's in the vicinity, you can start to see everybody else's reaction.
Yeah, he definitely wants to be associated with her. He's
Got
just
it.
not quite sure how
I
far to
get
take
that.
it.
And but everyone else's reaction is quite interesting. There are any number of people who are starting to kind of gather and look kind of gawking. Some of them get, ear pinched and dragged away, if they're younger. Um, and without really needing to roll, you can see there are a number of people who are genuinely pissed off that she's here. Um, so there's a lot of reactions that you don't really have the skill set, like, for example, lore cults, to assess this. But uh, you do know, she already said she's not from this general area, and that's evident to some extent in very small cultural practices. Um, just like you can say, well, that guy's from this town way over there, that kind of thing. Not another country, but a ways away. Um, but that doesn't seem sufficient, and even her rudeness doesn't seem sufficient at the moment for the degree of reaction that some people are providing. In fact, I'll give you a scan to even put a name or two at
All
roll.
right. There we go. Ooh, 7. So that is a successful scan.
Wow, like in 07.
0-7. Yeah.
You should have had that.
All about
roll.
the scanning today.
I was going to say lots of scanning today. Mark it, of course, and weep when you don't get that on your attack roll.
Yeah, I know.
What? There's going to be attack rolls, Ron?
Only to add a little bit more atmosphere to the Vakia situation, she will pull out about 4 from her satchel. That she had on her horse. She'll pull out about 4 um, rods, wooden sticks that are made of hardwood, but they're not edged or worked in the metal-like sense that you're used to. So they're more like basically just sticks. But each one has had a leather handle kind of sewn onto one end or wrapped around one end. Each one is about 2 feet to 2.5 feet long. And she pulls them out. This after she kind of sucks, finishes eating and licks off her fingers and, goes over, pulls them out of the satchel, and she pulls them out and, like, basically scatters them in the dirt. And then she takes out, not her sword that she showed you, but, yeah, she'll pick up one of the things. She'll pick up one of the sticks. And then she'll start slowly working through different striking positions with it. Nothing quite as formal as a martial arts form or pattern. Nothing as ritualized or as stylized as that, but a little bit more, but formal enough. I mean, you can see she's practicing in a technical fashion rather than just swinging randomly at the air. And so, and she seems to have her own routine for this, and she's going through this routine. She doesn't say a word to anybody.
So yeah, I'll be hovering around that, kind of watching and hoping that she asks for help or explains something about what she's doing, and it sounds like being very disappointed when she pretty much ignores me.
As you're hovering, and this takes a while. I mean, there's a lot of people are watching. It's also kind of cool to watch her, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so sooner or later, um, a girl who's a little younger than you, after a furious like argument that ends in an acrimonious breakdown with her parent, um, comes over, leans down, picks up one of the practice swords, and tries to stand next to Vakia and starts trying to imitate what she's doing. This girl, um, who's is known to you, um, and her name is like this other fellow that I just mentioned out. There's some naming conventions that I'm playing with, but uh, her name is June, just Jun, and she's overweight. She's a girl who's not considered particularly attractive. But she looks determined. She's like watching Vakia and tries to do what she does, and so
Yeah, and of course, Binri like internally whacks himself on the head and says, "Oh yeah, yeah," and kind of scrambles over to grab one of the sticks himself.
okay, so good. So that's basically what's happening so this is mid morning, and I'd say it's about all happening at the same time. There's a conversation with Urine. There's some, you know, um, there's some swordy stuff going on, and then there's spirit stuff as you commune deeper with your bound spirit and learn that this new spell is available to you. Um, so that's what's happening. I'm real interested in Jonathan, who in some ways is very much the the one who's getting it in the neck so far. Um, and I'm real curious to see what you're going to do with your current. Oh, you already spoke to Yoreen, and she gestures vaguely off and says, "Oh, that," and then asks you, um, do you have anything for me?"
Um, well, I tried to kind of get close to Alcaton, but I think his head's been really turned by Evan. It seems that he doesn't understand the threat that Des was to the community. He in fact, when I really mentioned the danger that Des was bringing to us, he rejected that. And I think I really worry that Alton's really fallen under Evan's spell, and I think he's dabbling more with the spirits, and I'm very worried about him. He obviously can't see this is not the right path.
You idiot,
and
she says. You idiot. Don't you
I'm
know
an idiot?
better than that? You should have. Don't you know any better? You should have talked about what a great guy Des was. Don't you understand anything?
I've lost. Last time I was speaking, I thought we were saying Des was a bad guy, right? I was warning him against how bad Des was, right?
You make sure that Alkerton is away from Eben tonight and get him out here close to the woods. You make sure of that.
Okay.
You make sure of that, or I tell you, you will be the next to feel her breath upon you.
Okay.
And then she like totally does this whole weird like Sybil thing where she then presses up against you and like breathes on your neck for a sec with full body contact
Oh.
and then says, I'm still thinking about you. And then and so I'm gonna say the question is just how addled are you?
I think Jonathan, with his intelligence of 9, is very confused at this point. It's kind of like, for a moment, he was thinking, whoa, where is this kind of like, where is the sexy, cool girl gone to be replaced with somebody that seems to basically be giving me a hard time, like one of the, like the priest or one of the other real kind of adults. And then suddenly she flips back, and I'm kind of like, this is like, it's just confused. And maybe I think, actually, you think to yourself, well, who will I normally talk to about this kind of thing when I don't really get people? Maybe I talk to Binri or someone like that. So maybe I would try and find Binri and think, Binri knows a lot more about this stuff than I do. Maybe I'll go and talk to Binri so I can get him to teach me about what's going on.
Excellent. Okay, so that's where we're at. I'm going to let you guys. I'll talk a little bit more about this or that person, but right now I'd like you guys to do a little of the driving.
Okay. So I'm going to wander back into town, and I will look for whoever I bump across first. I guess either Binri or Alkerton. I think I'm keen to see Binri first. Try and get I'm still in the torn between this adult world that's opening up in front of me and my buddies, right, that I'm leaving behind, and I think I'm trying to get back to them for reassurance a bit. Alkerton, I want to avoid a little bit. I think maybe if I see him, actually, I want to avoid Alkerton in a second because I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my head. So if Alkerton sees me, maybe I can like pull my hood up a little bit and shuffle off in the corner.
Sure. Well, as I understand it, Eben's dwelling, although it is not like a weird little hut off in the forest, as I keep emphasizing, it is an actual, house kind of place, but it is set off from everybody else and a little bit up on the heights. And so I think that Alkerton's probably up there, unless you want to tell me otherwise. And so therefore, running into Binri down in the town area among the buildings, without getting too meta about this, I want to emphasize that this is not a European peasant village and that we're playing weird with the culture. And so none of us really know what the culture is, me included. And so therefore, I keep referencing, and I'm not talking about the way the people are drawn, but I am talking about the way that the dwellings are drawn in a film like Princess Mononoke. You know how it sort of looks modern, but sort of looks fantasy, sort of looks historical, and you can't really tell?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm after. So,
Yeah, I mean they're wooden houses, but they're this wood that's kind of like metal. So yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to. I'm working with some strange shit in here, is all I gotta say. All right, so let's go ahead and see what happens. So Alkerton goes to. Sorry, I keep saying Alkerton. Jonathan goes to this area, and of course you'll see that there's a bit of a crowd. The first thing that'll happen is a woman and a man, husband and wife, you know them, are bustling past you, and they are furious furious that their daughter is doing what she's doing.
Okay.
They're really, really mad with June, their daughter, and they're also seem to be very urgent, very desperate about something, and they're hurrying toward their home because the layout of the place.
Well, anything that makes the the grown-ups bugs is obviously something good. So I'll push on towards it. That sounds like Binri's got some good stuff going down here.
So you see Vakia, whom I've described, working out with the swords, and right about the time when Binri and June are starting to look kind of a little less totally fumbly in what they're doing, she turns and gestures toward Binri. And she brings her practice sword in close to her chest in a downward grab, a downward hold, right? So she's holding it like this. So she's bringing her hand here, so it's just projecting downward. And her other hand is held in a sort of a neutral, vague, almost ready position. She looks at the way you're standing and shuffles her legs so you can see the way she's standing.
Okay.
Right? And then she nods in a kind of a, come on then.
Binri is definitely excited and scared at the same time. But he will be definitely trying to do his very best to follow her leg positions and hold just the way she is. And then when it's the come on, there's a little bit of a hesitation, and he kind of, he thinks back, he's going to think of this mostly. He hasn't had enough that he's still going to mostly think of it as a spear. So he'll probably shift his grip and try and stab at her.
Right. So go ahead and make an attack roll.
A 45 is not going to get the job done.
Okay. She succeeds in her parry roll, and the way that works in RuneQuest is that it does damage to the attacking weapon. However, these are practice swords, and they're not really going to damage each other very much. What that's going to do is basically give you a shock through the weapon that actually just goes right up through your arm. And so, lesson number one, a parry is in and of itself an attack. Then she turns toward June, and the same thing occurs. So what this can do is it opens the sword skill for you at your base. So you can take a look at the base for it. That's somewhere. Matthew, I thought I saw you waving around the book a second ago.
I was earlier. I was reading the spirit combat stuff. Spirit spells, actually, yeah.
And so since you have it right there to hand, can you take a look at the base for the one-handed cutting sword type skill and tell Gordon what that is, and he can put his attack and parry bonuses on it, and that is his starting sword skill that she just began for you.
One-handed cutting. Basic's only 10, I'm afraid, Gordon, for sword, right. 20 for axe.
Okay, so it's for sword 10. Add your attack and parry bonuses. That is your new sword skill.
Gotcha, and that's good. So at some point, one of the things that's probably going to have Binri confused is using this thing without his shield.
Right.
But
Right.
we'll get to that later, I think.
Do you want to ask about that or anything of the sort?
Yeah, it sounded like we were kind of in the middle of her going to the other person, but yeah, as soon as there's an opening, he'd say, can I go back and get my shield?
And she nods. Okay.
Oh,
So
great.
So yes, and she'll definitely adapt what she's doing to shield work as well. She also teaches you something important later. Shields have an attack. There is an attack with a shield. Um, in other words, they're perfectly good attacking weapons. I mean, you hadn't really known that.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is all very fascinating. At about this time, so Jonathan, I keep running off from you. You've passed the parents who were agitated, and you've come to this. You see this working out with the sword situation, and after a little while, everybody's pooped, and then also, Vakia does something interesting at the end. She dedicates the practice session, and she says the word. She says the name of Nea.
Right.
Nea with an accent on the E. And says some ritual words about it. The reaction from several people who are passing by or observing is dramatic. And at least 2 people start screaming, "Get out, get out," and shouting at other people, call so and so, and get them over here. Get out of here. And somebody shouts, "Binri." It's not one of your parents, but it's an adult. It says, "Binri, get away from her."
He'll look around to try and see who that is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. His name is Mard, Mard, and he is the father of a girl named Yoreen. And so Ian, he's the guy who was running desks down to you in the last session.
Right. Okay.
Black bearded guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think Binri is almost involuntarily drawn a step or 2 towards him at that, but kind of stops after a few steps and says, "What's going on? What's the issue?" Yeah.
I'll certainly move over to stand.
I met her. I met her with Des. She's here to help. She's here to help us here.
Mm-hmm. So what are you doing, Jonathan?
I'm moving to stand with Yori, okay. and I will come. I'm looking at Binri saying, "Binri, what are you thinking?" I don't really know what's going on, but I'm taking Yori's side because I think that may be good for me.
Okay. Well, Yoreen's not there. First of all, she didn't come back to town with you. But
you said the black bearded guy was Yori. Did you say Yori? Did you say?
Sorry, Mard is the fellow who shouted at Binri.
Mard. Okay.
He is Yoreen's father.
Well, that's what I kind of meant, basically.
Right. No problem. So good enough. So all right then, and so keep role playing. I'm interested. What does everybody say to everybody?
Say, Binri, what's going on? What are you thinking with these people?
This is Vakia. I met her with Des. There was a group of travelers, and she's here to help us.
Met her with Des. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think about what I was told earlier, and I say, Henry, come on, man, we've been buddies for ages. What's happening? You can tell me. What was she talking about?
So did Binri get anything from Vakia as far as what he is or isn't supposed to say about her being here?
No. As a matter of fact, this kind of standoffish, badass don't keep everybody guessing thing that she does
Uh-huh.
is working really, really well. You do know that she put you specifically at Des's request, and in some way a ritual request on his part,
Yeah.
put you under her protection. And also, I will inform you that you are now aware that that practice session with the swords was far more than just a lesson. It actually had religious observance principles for her, and she included both you and June in the ambit of her observance. In technical game terms, you guys just became laymen of Nea for the duration of the sword bout of the training. It's an on and off thing. I mean, it's you buy temporary laymanship. Well, you just bought it with your sweat.
Good enough. So for Jonathan, Finri will be saying, "Yeah, it was. Have you ever been out and seen the travelers in the wagons? They are so much fun. I had an incredible night out there. It was fantastic." And then
And poor Jonathan, who's all frustrated from the morning as well. Just
and
what he needs to hear.
and yeah, and then the morning, well, it was a little strange. I'm not sure what's going on with Vikia exactly, but she's like she serves somebody that they call themselves the blinded, but she's not quite a blinded yet. And anyway, but she and Des made some kind of deal, and she's here to help us.
Wow. Help us with what?
Whatever it was that attacked Des.
Wow.
I think.
Hey,
I think.
Henry, I'm wising up a bit now, right? Henry, I'm really sad I missed out. I mean, the stuff with the swords looked really cool. Next time, maybe I could come along and find out more. I mean, you could grab me next time if you're going to the camp again, right?
Gosh, well, I hope they have more of the glowing goo. That was really cool.
The what?
They had this glowing goo stuff.
Wow! And you
make a legion, make a lore region roll for Jonathan.
Lore region. What is basic science? I suspect probably.
Yeah, everybody started with one.
Lore region is.
Looks like we're gonna have to get one of these for everybody sooner or later.
Lore categories. Okay. Lore 10. Right, plus my knowledge of 10, 20. I do have a request.
Beast, everybody.
Look at that, lovely.
I know.
I do have somewhere.
I did. I
punched out
I
on
actually,
an Underwood typewriter and Xerox down the way the RuneQuest character sheet.
32.
Yeah.
So I found on that my chance is basically 20. So
yeah, I actually modified somebody's Word document and I sent it out as an attachment at some point.
Right.
But yeah, I changed all the skills to be by Ron's organization.
Yeah,
so
I warn you, I'm not going to be so. I want to, but I have not yet tried to reproduce that sheet in its historical charm with my skills and stuff. So,
yeah, I'm just missing a few. I got most of them down on my spreadsheet, on my document, but yeah.
So, what was the base for lore region that I gave you guys? It was pretty
10% plus 10% sort of
and knowledge bonus. I guess.
Yeah. All right.
Make a roll on that one and see what happens.
No, I missed it. I got 32.
Okay.
I know nothing.
Right. So yeah, he's babbling about all kinds of wild stuff. And And I'm kind of curious about how some people. Vakia's turned her back basically and has collected up the sticks and is, basically going to go and pour water on her face and do this. And kind of grunt at June, who's doing the Benry thing now and is kind of hovering around looking for approval. And so the let's see, I forgot something during the course of the lesson, when there was more of the interactive semi-sparring kind of thing. Vakia put a shoulder into June's face, just as a move. Basically, flattened her nose and made her see stars and stuff like that. And June kept going.
Wow.
Stuff like that. So yeah, you guys both got a little, a little stung here and there during the training, but you learned something. So yeah, the Vakia is paying no attention to the interaction between the two of you, but other people are. And in fact, in a lot of ways, the focus now, when I say crowd, I don't mean 50 people all standing in a clump, but I do mean that people come by and look, have opinions, and leave talking. And more people have come by than ordinary traffic on a day like this would have indicated. So, in other words, word's getting around and people are coming to see. Even though a person unfamiliar with the region or the community might think that everybody was just doing what they ordinarily do, but they're not. And so the attention is now completely focused on your conversation. What you're saying is being heard.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say probably, when Mard was calling for me to step away, that's when Jonathan stepped in, and I was sort of like in between. And now it's I don't have to figure that out because I'm sitting here talking to Jonathan. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. So you guys are busy conversing. And is Alkerton up to anything? I don't want to leave you out, Matthew.
So I guess he's got two things in his mind. One is kind of mortal terror that people keep telling him he's going to be killed and he's in danger. But also, I guess, preoccupied with the loss of his father and sister still.
Yes.
Even though it was kind of quite handy for me to have a bit of a think, actually, as you were talking to the others, because I guess given that he's got this, his spirit with his new spell, I guess he's probably thinking about trying to protect anyone else in the village close to him from being taken, and that may not be at all possible, in fact. But I guess his worry is whether he might lose his mother through the same mechanism, and also whether he. Yeah, sorry, Ron.
No, I don't. I'm just wanted to point out a detail. I was thinking about this, that maybe it would be really actually pretty cool if when you started seeing the things that your eye had passed over before, that it was actually your bound spirit, because you can see through the eyes of a bound spirit.
Yeah.
But perhaps, and sometimes maybe you're so used to it now that you've had this bound spirit for a while that you don't even really pay attention to who's looking when you're together, when you're hanging out together. And so now you realize that when you're making use of this expanded perception, that's when you can see things like this, and it registers.
Yeah.
So, really it's no difference in game mechanics. I'm just kind of giving it an interesting,
it's nice.
an interesting bit. The shamanic perception is now becoming part of your world. You see it differently than others. So I was thinking about that. I was like, I kind of like that idea. So, yes. So maybe let's go ahead and be a little depressing. Walking through the village, you realize you see a number of things that everyone else isn't seeing.
Okay.
And it's not everywhere. So it's not like there's been a massacre. But yeah, now you're like, wait a minute, I knew that guy. How come his old, his old wheelbarrow, we used to make fun of him. He'd get drunk and pass out and sleep in the wheelbarrow. It was kind of a joke. That old wheelbarrow's been sitting there for 4 years now.
Yeah.
You know, how come nobody's, nobody ever mentioned him ever since? I never mentioned him ever since. We used to laugh at that guy.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I think you're having a total freakazoid, village experience right now.
Yeah. So I guess I'll try and begin, I guess, documenting that on some level with the hope he can try and persuade people, even though it is pointless, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess also he wants to try and act proactively. If there's anything he can do, and not sure whether this will work, but anything he can see people who might be being taken or in the process of being lost.
That's actually a really interesting question. And at this point, I don't really see a way to do that unless you can start, unless you look up and down sort of the skills and see what you think of as, one of the things about RuneQuest is it's not real clear how you open a skill.
Yeah.
And I've been playing pretty fast and loose with it because I want to see us progress and, expand and stuff. And it seems to me that if you just spend some time with somebody knowledgeable, that your training can, quote, begin and you start the skill at its base. Yeah. I'm not talking about things like listen that everybody just has. I'm talking about things that do require just a bit. Burning Wheel has a fairly elaborate set of distinctions about skills and point structures for precisely this. But RuneQuest basically never really mentions it. So, so what I'm saying is if you want to start trying to put 2 and 2 together, look up and down the skill list and see if there's anything you want to open if one of the skills you have doesn't seem sufficient.
Okay, from the list you sent us, Ron. Okay.
Right. So that's really what I'm saying is be a little proactive about it. Maybe we'll hit upon a combination. The skill you choose might end up being kind of cool for this purpose that I couldn't anticipate.
And I guess also if I can get Eben's attention at all, I'll try and ask him if there's any kind of guidance he can give me. Because he seems to be the only person who's aware of what's been going on.
Okay. So, all right. So you're busy in sort of research mode more than anything else. So what I'm not seeing is much interaction with the other characters at the moment, but that's okay.
No, other than Eben, I guess potentially, as I say, yeah. So I think that's the main thing. Because I guess his predominant worry is his mum being snatched. So that he wants to try, if he can, that's what he wants to try and stop happening at the beginning.
Sure. Okay. Well, so far it's been just all spiritual stuff. What with Eben wandering off in the spirit plane, and you getting these new benefits from your bound spirit and stuff like that. So there's been a lot of sort of spirit style communication going on, but it's not real long on verbal explanations yet.
Yeah.
So should you
Law Esoterica, Ron? Would that be potentially?
Is that on my list?
It is one of your law categories. Yeah.
Really? Jesus.
Unless I've not got the right. This is your.
I can't believe I included that. Okay, so why not? Evidently, I did. Go ahead and roll it at its base, and plus your intelligence. Bless you. Your knowledge, its base plus your knowledge bonus.
Ooh. Sorry, actually succeed for once with 10.
Holy cow! Mark it.
That's good. Cool.
Mark it, and so yes, as a matter of fact, you start putting 2 and 2 together. He spoke a lot about the goddess of and how she had enslaved another goddess named Vrishimla.
Yeah.
And that's and so between the words of Rudiver and the words of Eben, you've kind of put that together a little bit. What you now realize is that there is another cult active here.
Okay.
And it is it's instead of being out in the wilds and outside of the community and only people who deliberately transgress go out there and become part of it, like with this is very much embedded deeply into the community itself.
Okay.
And so, yes, basically, these disappearances are not That's what I'm telling you.
Ah,
And
I
I
don't
think that the phrase that Eben used was eaten.
Eaten.
Yes. And
As
as in being something has preyed upon you. Yes, has eaten you.
Yeah.
And he was not referring to
See, we get a bad press.
Mhm.
So that's interesting. So I guess he's now even more twitchy because there's an enemy he can't even see, perhaps in the village.
Right.
So at least Jonathan and his fall to darkness is a bit more obvious.
Yeah, exactly correct. Yes.
So he's double paranoid now.
Mhm. Now there's a couple of other interesting points. Jonathan, I will point out that one thing that excited comment and a great deal of anger, particularly from Mard, was the way that when they worked with their swords, every so often, um, some after image of their motion or some after image of where their eyes were looking glowed brightly.
Mm.
Not very much, just every so often when they were working out.
Okay.
The words that Vakia spoke at the end had some power behind them, certain resonance when she spoke them. One of them referenced truth, and the other one referenced death.
Mm. Okay. So potentially the runes of the occult. Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Echoes of Humact, not the same, I swear to God,
Yeah.
but the DNA is
No.
there in the game, right?
I see where you're
DNA
going,
is
yeah.
there, and you can't deny it. So, all right. Let's see here. We have. I need to know what everybody's doing. I need to know what attempts that Jonathan is going to do in terms of influencing or talking to Binri or vice versa. I'd like to know what either of you. I have a couple of actions in mind. And
I guess. Yeah, and I guess there are two things I kind of want to point out a bit. One is really trying to win Binri's confidence a bit. I guess I'm thinking, look, if I strike out with Alkerton, maybe I can offer what I'm picking up on Binri to the cult instead. And maybe if I
charisma
can.
versus intelligence on the resistance table. So,
Okay.
well, your charisma, as I recall, wasn't that bad, 11 or something like that, right?
11, yeah.
And then Gordon Binri's intelligence is what?
Binri's intelligence is 10.
Okay, 55%. Go.
42.
Well, yeah, and Binri is completely willing to include you into this really cool stuff that's going on with Vakia. You had asked about going out to the troop. He thinks we're here for a while until she's committed. She has made some sort of, I think it was an almost like supernatural magical commitment to fix things. And until that's over, I don't think I'll be going back. But I can introduce you to her. I'm sure she'd love to meet you. Well, okay, maybe I'm not so sure about that, but I could try anyway.
I just there's cool shit happening here, Benry, and I understand. I don't want to be left out, right? Alkerton's moving on with Evan, and I feel like I'm not moving on, and wow, there's some cool stuff happening here, Benry. Maybe I could really become part of it too.
Well, definitely. Next time she throws out the sticks, take one up yourself. It was cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
That's okay. And look, Benry, I get what the adults are saying, and they're really worried about what's going on here. But hey, don't worry too much. You know what adults are like. Anything new, anything a bit different. Stick with it for a while, and I guess we can see what we can figure out about Vakia, right?
Wow,
Yeah, because
Jonathan's actually being pretty effective as a nasty little sneak now. Yeah, he's
well,
working on Benry.
well, and yeah,
he
and
learned
that
his lesson this morning.
and that definitely plays directly into what Binri would be trying to do here, which is I want to try and understand why is Mard like angry about this and what is the problem here, but I'm not going to ask any adults. So
Right.
hey, great, I got Jonathan here. This will be
Excellent.
fantastic.
So let's
And
go
so
ahead and
let me know. Let
yeah,
me know what you think, because this is strange. I mean,
I think I can see you two kind of hanging out for a while.
yeah,
Vakia basically sort of shuts off. Inquiries, whatever, and you will notice that if anybody like, how am I going to put this? You will notice perhaps because you guys are culturally, sensitive to your own community. All the disapproval seems to be focused on you and on June, and nobody is actually, people have shouted like get out of here, a little bit at her, but that stops once the ritual is done, and nobody is like going up to go and challenge her. One or two over the course of the day, as it gets boring just watching her sit there and like eat once in a while. Over the course of the day, occasional other people, adults too, will come over and like introduce themselves and talk with her quietly for a little bit. The couple, June's parents, are packing up. They're actually literally moving out. They've pulled out a wagon. They have a pretty nice place too.
Wow.
They've actually pulled out a wagon and are packing up, valuables and things like that. Obviously on the spur of the moment, but it's very complete. They're literally moving out. And they seem fair on trying to get out of here before dark.
wow,
And when June notices this, she tries to go over to talk to her parents. They actually smack her in the face and drive her away.
Wow. Okay. I will place a comforting arm around June.
Yeah.
yeah, and Binri will definitely join in terms. Binri will be a little bit more. What's up with your parents? What's going on?
Yeah. Do you know why they're reacting so badly?
She's not hysterical, but she's so angry she's not rational, and is basically saying, forget them, to hell with them. If that's how they want to be, they hate me anyway. And so, uh is pretty much, she's in a state is the best way I can put it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Um, so, but is obviously completely heartbroken that her parents have just apparently completely turned on her.
Do we? I mean, presumably it's a small town. Do we know, anything about June and her parents? We heard anything? We know if that were they always
nothing of sort
fighting?
of this. Well, she was not. I wouldn't go so far as to say she was a misfit, but she wasn't a popular kid, and she
Right.
also was. I don't know. The parents were real upstanding, respected. I mean, that's the weird thing about moving out. They had valuable
Right.
stuff. They've got like valuable furnishings. They've got valuable animals. They've got nice
Okay.
plots of lands. They are not in any way, shape, or form, uh, uh, you know, marginal people. They're not serve. I mean, they don't like dig ditches, and
Yeah.
and so for them to just like pack up like this is weird as shit. And so yeah, I mean, she was not the happiest kid, but there was no like awful scandal or anything like that.
Right.
Um,
And none of us in the village seems to be trying to stop them. Like there are no council members trying to, come out and say,
that's actually a
we think
really good. That's actually a really good observation on your part. There aren't.
wow.
Yeah, and actually, I think from Binri's perspective, he's maybe expecting. We haven't established really anything about his parents other than that they were also council background.
Correct. Do you want to talk to your dad or anything?
Well, I was kind of imagining that there was a certain amount of distance between them because he had decided to go off with the Outriders instead of stay in
the way I was thinking about this.
But at this point, I'm figuring this is far enough out there and strange enough that even if that's true, he would go to his parents and say, "Hey, wait a minute, I've kind of been very happy off in my own world here doing all this stuff. This is exactly what I want my."
Right.
But what's going on with June's parents? I mean,
well,
I think I remember meeting them before.
I was making a couple of notes about this. I'll give a little cultural background. In this setting, it's not like what you're born into dictates where you're going to go. So it's not crazy for a council kid to become an outrider, for example, or even all that notable. It speaks of a slightly adventurous spirit. That's true. So that makes sense. I also want to point out that you were carrying your shield that day while you were riding with Des, and that's not standard outrider gear, and so therefore it's considered like a little bit of your sort of personal take on life that you would still carry your shield around, so I mean, it's not crazy, but nobody else did it, put it that way.
Right.
So I kind of think of it that way. So in terms of your interaction with your parents, I wouldn't consider it alienated because of what you've chosen to do with your life. But on the other hand, it's true that there's, nobody else did.
Yeah. Well, and also, my take on it wasn't that necessarily had to be that the society as a whole considers it weird, but my parents had a plan and I'm not following it.
Got it. Yes, that I get.
Yeah.
So
and to a certain extent, they're disappointed at me wasting my abilities on this.
Right. Well, this is going to be kind of interesting. I hadn't really thought about your parents' personalities, and I have to kind of really let that flow for a second here. I'm actually going to say that they're standing, when you finally do look up and around, you'll see that for a while they were standing there, out there, both your mom and your dad. They have things to do. Why are they standing together now? They have things to do. Well, no, they're standing there. They side by side. They're looking at you. And if you do kind of look over there to kind of get a clue, they'll look a little sad, a little sober, a little kind of, then they'll kind of both nod at you. They'll kind of both kind of give you a little approving kind of nod, but they also look a little sad.
Okay. Well, I will feel good about the approving nod and kind of wander over towards them a little bit, and say, I don't know how much you've heard about what's been going on. Sorry, it's all been kind of busy. I haven't had a chance to talk with you yet. But do you understand what's going on with June's parents?
Listen, son. I don't know how you did it or how this worked out, but how this came to be on you. But soon, we here will have to make a stand. And so far, we have kept ourselves safe. But I don't think it's safe here for anybody anymore. For you, least of all. We will be here with you. We're not like June's parents. We will stay here for you because of this choice you have made. The light's upon you now, Henry.
I don't think
I'd only hope that we're not all disintegrated, dissolved, what's the right word? I just hope that we are not all swept away by it.
Uh, yeah, clearly this one. I was looking back on my notes about how you had said it before, and it says subtracted on the unholiest of days, but that I don't think that would be for them. So
Right.
Anyway, so Binri is not sure he fully understands what they're talking about. He's starting, the whole negative consequences thing. He's been able to pretty well dodge so far.
Right.
And so the thought that there really is some negative consequences, he doesn't really want to confront that. But I guess I'm just going to try and do the best that I can.
They'll tell you, don't. They said the person you need to avoid is Oniv, the butcher. Don't go near her. Don't be alone with any of her friends. Don't let anything lure you to the wilds.
Well, normally that might be hard for me, but with the Kia here, I think I have to stay here with her anyway. Not that she says anything about that, but that's what I think. Thanks for the warning.
She says, and your mom says, we'll be looking out for you as best we can.
So this might be a good moment for me to drop in a little plan. As you walk away from your parents, maybe with June, effectively I've been consoling. I walk over and bring her over to you and say, you know what? There's a lot of stuff going down here. A lot of the oldsters giving us grief about basically our choices. You know what I think we should do? The three of us, maybe grab Alcatel and a few of the others, head out, party. Yeah? Take some stuff with us, cut loose a little bit away from their disapproving stares, etc.
Let's go smoke a blunt out in the woods, man.
Yeah, essentially. But I'm trying to head them all towards where I need them to be tonight, right? So I'm saying let's go and party, right? We're teenagers. Let's cut loose. Let's get away from them and their ways, right? There's a lot going down. Come on, let's just cut loose tonight. It's too much. Let's get Alcaton. Last time I saw Alcaton, he looked really stressed. Let's get Alcaton too, right? Remember a few other people. Maybe get Urena and Jodney out there. Let's get out in the woods and party. Yeah, come on, let's do it. It's been too long. It's been too long, Ben, since we had a good party. Yeah.
Partially being constrained by the earlier roll. Binri is trying to think that this is a good idea, and we can't go too far out into the wilds, but if we go just the outskirts of town,
just far enough that we're not being watched, right?
Yeah,
just on the outskirts.
Is grasping at straws here for companionship and some sense of an anchor. So she's on it. She is all about it.
And I'll probably reassure you, Benny. I say, well, look, it's okay. I understand. We won't go that far out. And look, but I'm a hunter. I go out in the wilds all the time. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. I can keep you guys safe. The wilderness is fine, provided you understand it. That's the thing. Let's grab Alcaton. I tell you what, Benny. Why don't you grab Alcaton? Because last time I saw him, he looked really down. Why don't you see if you can grab him and get him to come to the party tonight?
I'll go talk to him. Yeah, sure. That sounds good.
Hey, June, come on. Let's keep back somewhere because it's been a hell of a day for you. Yeah, fuck your parents. Come on.
Yeah. So oh man. All right. So this is going on, and I know. So let's get a little, some of the fantasy in there. The day goes by. The spiders are, roaming the village the way they do. Some of them are the domestic herd, spider herders are tending to the spiders, and things are being spun, and oxen are being, herded, and wagon loads of harvest are being brought in. Mushrooms, of course, baskets of mushrooms are, being unloaded. Game is being butchered. The outriders come in the late afternoon with their catch or their comments or their news.
The hunters use spiders like dogs, Ron.
That's
to
exactly
track
right.
prey down.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And so there's stuff like that. There's all kinds of interesting villagey stuff going on. The one of the outriders talks about how the troop had passed by not far from here. And you get the idea that it's some people are like, wow, I wish they would come here. These shows are really fun. And other people are, it's a little bit like stereotypes of the gypsies. It's kind of cool for them to come. Then other people are like, we don't need any of those people around and stuff like that. The only interaction that I'm interested in before we move to the next consequence of the latest bit of play concerns Alkerton's mother, who I prefer, as I keep saying, I don't want her to be this mannequin that we sort of move around in a sort of woeful face, so much as a person in her own right. And she has been kind of, you see her kind of blinking a lot at like areas of the house. It's kind of like she's looking for somebody, and then shakes her head and kind of walks away from where she was looking. But she says, clearly something is going on with you, Eben. I can see it in your face. You remind me so much of somebody when you look like that. I can't remember who. And she also starts thinking, I'm really starting to think about what we're doing here. I'm really starting to think about this. I mean, if you seem to be finding your place here, that's fantastic. But what have I been doing with myself? I used to run a whole caravan. Look at this place. And she starts thinking, she's starting to get kind of optimistic. She's saying, this place needs to be a little bit more, known to the traders. We've got good things here. We need a little bit more, a little more bustle around this place. I don't know what I've been thinking. Time to get moving on something, Alkerton. Kind of woke me up a little bit here.
I think you're right, Mother. I think it's time for a change.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, your mom is she's getting dollar bills in her eyes, thinking about what she might do and what could be made of some industry or some enterprise. That's the word I want. Some enterprise around here.
Do you think we should get back on the road again, maybe, and try our luck somewhere else?
She says, "Oh no, I know people here, and I see what's not being done. I can talk to so and so. I can talk to so and so. I can." She starts thinking about the different people she might talk to, about coming up with some investment, coming up with some plans, maybe organize the outriders to connect up with the other caravans and traders and villages and stuff. Why this place is, she says, this place has potential.
And I guess, have I worked out, Ron, that the population is actually dwindling in the village?
It's not. The rate of disappearance is very, very low. Okay. There's less than 10 people total that you can think of. And you guys have been here for about that long. So roughly one a year.
Okay. So I'll say, I mean, that sounds good, Mum. I mean, I'm wondering if it's the right place for us though to stay. Eben's taught me a lot. I could take my skills elsewhere, or on the caravan on the road.
You're just a boy. He's barely taught you anything. Don't be arrogant.
Okay. I mean, there's always more to learn. I agree with you, but I have some things I can take with me. I could earn a living for us mother somewhere else.
And she laughs a little bit and says, "Oh, I don't think you're going to have to worry about earning a living. Besides, I'll put you to work. Don't you worry about that."
Okay. Well, it's good to hear these ideas. I certainly think this whole place could do with being opened up.
Mhm. So, all right. While we all are simultaneously pleased but depressed, you know, the I want to know. Let's go ahead and move to the next possibility here.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so Benry will definitely be going to talk to Alkerton about joining us out in the old warehouse or wherever it is that we're going to go tonight. And you know, it really sounds like a great idea for all of us to get an opinion about what's going on in this village right now. You know, I think that's a great idea that Jonathan had, and I'm gonna ask Vakia if I can take one of those sticks with me, and I'll show you guys what I learned.
Mhm.
I mean, she may say no. She may say no. I don't know. That there was something special about it. But I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna ask.
So you're talking talking to Alkerton at this point, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So it's up to you, Matthew, to decide whether this is something you feel Alkerton should resist or whether you're going to go. If you decide you're going to resist it, then we have that influence role that we seem to be getting used to. And if we don't, or if you decide that you're up for it for whatever reason, then go ahead and say that either way.
Can I see what reasons Binri gives me a bit more in game? Is that okay, Ron?
Sure.
So I'm kind of trusting towards Binri. I think he's a good bloke, and I would want to spend time with him routinely.
Mhm.
But I guess, you know, in session 2, Alcaton got told a lot. His life was in danger by a variety of people, so that's also a pressing worry. So I guess he's gonna be honest and say, Binri, people have been really freaking me out. I'm worried. People keep telling me I'm in danger. And maybe think it's not so wise to go out away from the village. I should stay close to my family.
Yeah, my mom and dad were worried about that too, but it feels like we've got to try and do something now. I think Jonathan had a good point that, you know, all of us, you know, all our friends should talk this through a little and just figure things out.
Oh man, the disembodied GM voice does point out that Eben had specifically said that the younger generation kind of will probably be, you know, a little more, you know, the way to go. Look to the youth kind of thing, which in this particular context is really bad advice, but he couldn't see that coming. So
always bad advice. So who's going to be there, Binri? Who are we going to meet up with?
Well, so definitely Alkerton in June when we talked there. Alkerton was going to try and find some of his friends. You know, I mentioned you know, a couple of other. I'll give a couple other names of people that we know that I mentioned for Alkerton to try and invite.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, Jonathan to invite, and you know, anybody you can think of that's a good fit, Alkerton. We can have them out too.
Okay, any other kind of herbalist apprentice-y types, Ron, I could drag along?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah. And how did you find Jonathan Binri? He was a little bit intense when I last met up with him. He's struggling with something in his thinking.
It was just when we were, you know, in the middle of the village with Vakia, he stopped by and saw us working out. Did you we didn't see you there. Were you spending all your time with Eben?
Sort of. I've had a bit of a shock lately, been me. So it probably is something I'd be keen to talk over with you guys. I'm quite
Well,
worried.
that sounds great. So we'll see you out then. I know that Jonathan was going to get see if he couldn't get a couple of pies and see if we can't scam some beverages and.
Okay, I think I've got a fruit tart at home. You're not eating. I'll bring that.
Yeah, and those mushrooms, those green and brown mushrooms that I mentioned, which are sort of all-purpose mushrooms, well, we certainly know that some beverage is involved from those.
Yes, special herbs.
I mean, you're the herbalist. Surely every teenage party you are.
True.
You are very
There's
popular.
a reason why you have been invited to these parties before.
Yeah, I'm parted out.
That's right. Okay. Bring some more of your herbalist friends too. You know.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. I hadn't thought about that. Good point. So yes, night falls, and through various excuses and other things, the odd teenager finds themselves wandering out in the same directions. So we'll take it from there.
Terrible idea, but
It is a terrible idea.
hey, at least I can blame a roll.
I mean, I guess we'll do the usual thing of we'll kind of agree somewhere on the edge of town where we're going to kind of meet up.
I'd like to describe it a little bit.
Okay.
The area that I'm thinking about is an area which is often used for people who are herding animals. So people who are like taking care of the cattle, or coming in from, a drive of the animals out to this pasture and back to the corral and stuff like that. It's a place where they would stop and routinely, eat, for example, the mid-afternoon meal or something like that. And so therefore there's a fire pit, it's well used kind of, nobody sleeps there really, but it's more like a campsite gathering place through long use. So it's very comfortable. There's lots of logs to sit on. There's a fire pit or two. There's some it's big enough so that there are some more private little spots out there scattered among the trees. There's, everybody knows where to go and, to pee. It's, it's kind of a known hangout. It's not very social. Nobody would like go there on a, it's what's the word I want? It's not very, it's not a romantic spot. It's not like two lovers would go there or anything. A little too utilitarian for that. But and so there's it's not heavily wooded, but the woods are right over there.
Yeah, sure. And I guess presumably this is the kind of spot where kids have been meeting for generations before heading out to party.
Sure.
So I answered it.
And also, there's fresh water. A creek is going through, so that's another reason why the working people would stop there and hang out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. As far as the general feel, smell of the place, there's dirt, there's rock. It's not a tended area, so there's vegetation, but it's so heavily used, or routinely used, I should say, that it's not like there's, wild plants all over.
Yeah.
So that's kind of your situation.
Suppose the only other thing from me would be what Vakia's response was when I said, "Hey, I want to show my friends. I'm going to go meet some of my friends tonight. Can I show them a stick?"
She'll say, "These are holy." But and at some point, she had learned that you were a spearman, and so had
Yeah.
was it mentioned. She says tomorrow. Tomorrow. She'll say. So let's start over. She says these no. Your spear though. You hold the sword like a spearman. A fine
Well,
weapon.
yeah, that was my training.
A fine weapon. Bring it to me now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I figure he does have enough concern about being that close to the wilds. He does plan to bring his spear and shield with him
Oh, interesting.
out there. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's kind of interesting. But so yeah, so maybe you even have them with you, I would say.
So I may even have, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, probably actually this would be great. Yeah, to have the best chance at success, I'm coming to her right before I'm going to head out and say, "Oh, can I take this?" And she says,
exactly. She says no, and she says, "Take that though," and she points to your spear.
"Great, yeah, sure. I was going to bring it anyway."
And so she raises an eyebrow at this and says, "Then there's hope."
Little puzzled. Yeah, well,
Subtitles. Not
yeah,
an
I'm
idiot
trusting you
after all.
Yeah, I mean, that was enough of a warning
Mhm.
that he
Yeah,
needs to have a little concern. But
Mhm.
yeah, good enough.
All right. So
All right, head on
excellent.
out.
All right then. You'll probably hook up with Alkerton on the way. You guys head out there. When you get there, there's I figure Jonathan and June were there early,
Mm.
and everybody's like hanging out, sitting on a rock or a stump or a log on its side. The fire pit's been lit, and the teens are kind of hanging out in that, not really having a very real conversation way, but hanging out together.
Yeah, Ron, just one thing that I'd been keen to make sure that Urine got word.
Oh
That,
yes, oh yeah. Matter of fact, she's in that case, yes, she's quite positive about that because this is all part of the lure them out here, lure Alkerton out here kind of thing.
yeah.
Right. So let's see. Let's see. The other fellow I mentioned, that was Jodney, right?
Yeah.
The right.
Yeah.
He shows up, and he is he's actually having kind of an altercation with another guy. Apparently, Jodney was throwing rocks at the cows on the way over for fun, and the other guy who's a farmer is pissed off at him and is like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Knock it off, stop. And Jodney just does this thing where he actually just puts his hand on the guy's face and shoves him, and goes over and sits next to Yoreen. And Yoreen seems happy to be sitting next to him.
Yeah.
So
I'd sense that.
your whole setup of it. Now I'm going to go hang out with Yoreen. No, hang out with Yoreen now. Well, his timing's perfect. He sits down right next to her, and she sits back like with him. And I'm sitting here way, and you are the body language. It's almost like a blow. There is no way on this earth that another guy can go and sit down with her now.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe
I'm having the worst flashbacks of playing this.
So I think actually, if Jonathan's a bit pissed like that, right, and this is said as Jonathan because it's horrific, but I think he's going to think, well, I'm going to make her jealous with June, and June seems a bit vulnerable, so I'm going to go over and sit next to June and put an arm around her and make sure that Irene sees me doing that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. June will actually, instead of cuddling, she'll accept it, but instead of cuddling, she'll say, "Better look out! I learned some things today."
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll be careful. But hey, maybe I should learn some of those things too. That stuff looked really cool.
She brags a little bit. She's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as if she hadn't, been leaking tears after getting elbowed in the face. But hey, credit on her for keeping going, right?
But in fact,
So-
I'd say because someone mentioned it to us, didn't they? But I say, wow, it took some real courage to get back up after you've taken a knock like that. I've got to say, my admiration for you changed a lot after that.
She's trying to remember. She's trying to remember, and she's kind of squinting, and she's talking a little, and she repeats the words that Vakia finished the routine with.
Okay.
The forest doesn't like it. Not one bit. So these are perceptions you, as a layman, a belonging layman of and all all I can say is that it's related to the spirits of reprisal issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's there are forces at work here in this conversation that that are bigger than you.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. So let's carry on. Let's have you guys show up, and then I take some actions. Did I say that out loud?
You did.
No.
But so from Benry's perspective, this is going to be a chance to say a lot of things about what happened to him over the last 2 days, about how cool it was that he stabbed the bird, about how great the troop was and the show they put on. Tell everybody, did you know that outsiders, people from not around our village, say we live in the haunted hills? That there's that this region is under the control of bad forces, and people think it's crazy that we live here.
Make me a roll.
But Vakias help us here.
Make me a roll as if it were on the resistance table with your charisma as the attacker. And so since the charisma is around would it be against charisma? Actually, it kind of probably would be charisma against charisma, because this is more about social presence than anything else. Since the charisma is around the group vary, I'm going to say the effect. I want to see how good an effect you get.
Right. So
shooting more or less at the median value of 10 to 11.
Yeah. So my charisma just went up to 13.
Wow.
And I rolled a 39.
Oh, okay. So 60% to hit the, to do better than average on the average crowd. And so, you're getting a lot of listening and people who are talking about how they, through either their values training or their what they've been hearing the elders say recently, those who would be inclined to disagree with you or find it repugnant what you're talking about are actually more interested in comparing than they are in arguing. Because that what you're saying, you've presented it in a way that isn't as threatening and is genuinely, your enthusiasm is infectious. And so people are like, oh, my dad doesn't say that. He says it like this, but not in a way like to fight back at you or shut you down. More as, oh, now I'm going to share what I've been, hearing about this kind of way. So there's actually some room. The viewpoints that are being thrown around or naively represented are actually pretty damned interesting at this point.
Yeah, and
Alkerton,
definitely
you are soaking this up.
Yeah,
you're hearing this conversation in a whole different light.
Yeah.
I guess, Benry, you might mention my using my sling against the bird when it attacked Des. And although I will be a bit nervous when you mention that and maybe look at Urine, I'm also thinking, well, perhaps I could exploit that. Maybe that gives me a little bit of cover here, as though
Urine is sitting there fairly coldly and not joining in this kind of back and forth conversation at all. Jodney is nowhere to be seen.
Okay. Training.
So, so good. So that's happening. Alkerton.
Yeah, he's listening. He's kind of, as I guess he hears the phrase "haunted hills," his pretty eyes are widen. And why do they call it that, Binry? Why do they think we're haunted?
They said that there's a power that has sway here.
Okay.
I'm Ron. I'm not remembering if they actually said or if it was just a general sense that he got that.
I think Vakia was reasonably explicit about it.
Yeah.
But that may have been like player knowledge. I'm not sure. I will say that June will speak up here and say that and say almost in a whisper and say, I think my parents know this is. She says she. How am I going to put it? How much does she know really? She says, yeah. And June says, I think I know. I think I know. I think the witch is coming.
The witch, June?
The witch is my. She swallows hard and says, my mother and my father. They say the wife and the witch, one or the other, must rule. And the way they left, the way they ran like that, left me, I don't care. Screw them and the wife. Who cares? And the other kids, some of the other kids are like really uncomfortable, like she's talking about, really more important things. It's as if somebody suddenly started talking about politics,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so there's like room for a lot of conflict here, and a number of the other kids were kind of like, man, right when we were starting to all connect and like groove on the hangout, you know, she brings this shit up, you know.
And you others know about this? What June's talking about?
Sort of not enough. It's more of a values clash than a genuine knowledge thing. June was speaking a little deeper than you're used to about these things.
And your parents are happy about this wife or the witch ruling June, or is it a bad thing?
She says, she swallows and says, I'm not to talk of it. But I don't care. I don't care about any of that. She says, I don't care about any of that anymore. I felt something today. And I'm gonna say it. My parents, they followed Wendrara. And they know they're getting out of here because is coming. And Yoreen at that point loses her temper and says, shut up, you fat bitch.
I say, easy, Yoreen, chill out, eh? Oh, and who's Windira? Does Alcaton know?
The name strikes a kind of a cultural chord. It's one of the gods. If you're really thinking about that, esoterico roll was just insane. So I'm going to say you're putting together a lot of vocabulary. The four guards are Wendrara,
yeah,
Ordlandis,
yeah,
and one other, whose name you do not know.
Okay. And do I know anything about Wenjero being the person who's, taking people or eating, or?
No.
Don't know that. Okay.
From a player perspective, it seemed pretty clear that that's the the fourth void
Right.
one.
Yeah.
But
Well,
characters.
that's because I gave it to you in a handout. But yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You haven't seen the write-ups that I've done for the others, but they're not as good as the one that I did for because I haven't had to turn it into English for other people to read.
Yeah.
But the skeletons are all there. I've actually got a pretty nasty pantheon worked up.
More nasty.
Gee, thanks, Ron.
These are the good guys so far. So I was going to say, there's something's going on in the town. There's some kind of secret cult I can't quite get my finger on.
Just the one.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, yeah, the teens are talking about it, and some of the other kids start to talk, and it eventually comes out that more than one family is committed to gods, and that some of the kids have been under pressure to join. One or two actually get up and leave at this point.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
presumably none of the other followers of are really saying very much.
exactly. That's the thing. They're kind of there's some dark glances being thrown around when nobody's looking.
Yeah. Okay.
And but actually, the only ones that you really know for sure is Yoreen.
Yeah.
That's the only one you know for sure. And although I can name one other that you've probably got a pretty good suspicion about, but
yeah, right, exactly.
Right. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what's up.
I think Alton might just fan the flames a bit more and just say, well, there's people been going missing.
At that point, yeah, there's a sort of silence falls. And other a couple of people actually no, it's weird, it's bipolar. Perhaps I should call for rolls to notice this.
Okay.
The effect is that some people are puzzled by what you're talking about, saying, how can anybody be going? What do you mean going missing? We know everybody, or mostly know of everybody. I mean, what are you talking about? There's no disappearances. And then, but definitely Yoreen, if at all possible, goes even quieter, and actually looks a little scared. Instead of looking like resentful and like she was toward June, that now it's as though you just like gave her a cold free. I mean, she felt a chill. And a couple of other people, maybe not as extremely, also go very grave, very whoa, this just got really dark. This just got really, really, somebody even says, you're not sure who it is. Somebody even says it's Alkerton.
I'm gonna, acknowledge the suffering in the room as is important, and I will say, yeah, this is uncomfortable to hear. This is why I thought we got together to try and think about what we're facing and trying to find a way through it. I mean, Jonathan's, it's great of him to bring us here to help us find a way together forward.
Mm-hmm. So this is as good a time as any. Listen rolls, everybody.
Listen, okay.
And it looks as though I have generated another supporting cast member into existence.
Oh my god!
Planning it, so I'll roll for her as well. Holy cow! Anybody make it?
Yeah, I did just 21, so I'm not 25. So I just about hear something.
47 as a failure from me.
Wait, Ian, did I hear you rolled a 21 when your skill is at 25?
Yeah.
Okay, so you do. You do. You hear running footsteps. And the beginnings of some kind of vocalization which sounds a little bit unhinged. Some kind of ululating or you know, it seems to be building. Like it's not like a scream, like
Okay.
something's just beginning.
Well, like a war cry or something that someone's about to utter.
Yeah, but it's like made quietly and louder. And not only that, but
Yeah.
June, who just made her roll at 25, leaps to her feet and shouts, you know, "It's in the woods!"
Okay.
And everybody else is kind of like looking around, kind of like, "What? Huh? What? Huh? Huh?"
I'll get to my feet and look in the direction of where the noise is coming from. I'm next to June. I guess we maybe we caught a sight of something.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. So, well, that you heard, both of you. And yeah, you hear it. I mean, people are running at you right now.
Okay.
What will you do?
And the people are running out of the woods towards.
People are running at you right now.
Okay.
And there's some kind of vocalization being made.
I am going to grab Yorine's hand and start pulling her away from the people running, trying to get her out.
That's a very interesting. It's a really interesting thing you did, because that permits me to take something that I've prepped and try it out.
Wow. Do I get my bonus reward for having helped the GM?
You're going to make a roll on the resistance table. Use your strength. What's your strength?
10.
10. Okay. And so go ahead and roll on the resistance table and tell me what you get simultaneously. Oh, goodness. Oh, golly.
86, so I miss.
She flips you in the most jujitsu-y way possible. We have just used the grappling rules, my friends.
Yeah.
We totally used them by the rules. She rolled a 20.
Wow, cool.
On her, and she didn't have to roll to grab because he'd already grabbed her.
So
she could just go straight into the throw.
Okay, cool.
And you are thrown ass over tea kettle, landing on your back quite hard.
Ouch.
And she's come down on one knee next to you, you know, as you landed, and hisses right into your face and says, "Now, you kill him, and you help, or you die here too."
Okay.
As two men vault, one of them in particular arrives first and literally vaults into your midst in a jump that is practically superhuman. All of a sudden, the air is full of the smell of rotting vegetation. The place suddenly everywhere reeks of it. So it's as though his appearance on the scene, this man with a wooden mask and painted limbs, who has done, you know, like a Celtic salmon leap, you know, with the turn leap in the air, something a lot like that, wielding a hatchet in each hand. And that war cry splits the air as he suddenly almost appears, and the stench of that rotting vegetation just is almost like a blow at the same time. And there's more. Everyone's, you know, surprise aside, he's not alone. What do you all do?
How do the other young people react?
As you might expect, at the moment, they're frozen in shock and sensory overload.
Does Alcaton recognize these figures despite their masks at all?
You're going in the thick of the action. That will be an action for a scan roll to figure that out.
Yeah, I think he's going to try and figure out who they are. Yeah. I presume they're real villagers who are in, occult activity or something.
Doing this by the numbers, and you guys got to pretend that we've got a little map out. I will point out that old RuneQuest is not a battle map game necessarily. You are encouraged to use figures if you need them, but it is not. But it's basically phrased as though you're using movement units and in meters. Only gamers back then in the U.S. That we are using movement units, but they have equivalents in meters, and so therefore we create a theater of the mind mapped out in meters. So I will say that this particular area, with its fire pit being the biggest of all these sub areas, with their couple fire pits here and there, and other like little logs to go sit on and stuff. There are as many as 5 or 6 of these kind of socially defined units. This one is big enough where it's almost 10 meters across. With, it's not a clear circle. I mean, there are seats closer to the center where the fire is. And one biggish rock that you sit on and has almost a face, that's warmed by the fire. By face, like about 4 feet tall kind of thing. So you can sit on that with your legs hanging over. That's where Yoreen was sitting. Not anymore. She's just thrown you down like right next to one of the sitting logs.
Okay.
And so if you imagine a fire pit with coals now, it's been burning for a bit. If you imagine the few sitting logs, either stumps or sawn off trees on their side, that rock face that I mentioned, a couple of rocks that are suitable for sitting on here and there, smaller rocks studding the ground, a few patches of vegetation here and there away from the fire. And then away from this particular fire pit are other areas a little less built up with a couple of fire pits of their own, or other places without fire pits but are still nice places to sit. Against one edge of this larger area is the woods. If you were to go by the trails and grassy areas that lead to it that aren't the woods, you'll end up in pasture.
Okay.
So the greater area of this entire social space is as much as maybe 75-ish meters diameter, I would say, in an irregular area that's not an exact circle. But so you guys kind of get in the mind eye of the whole space. Yeah.
And very dark, I guess, Ron, is it?
Yes, and there's also a creek running through part of it.
Right.
So that means that some of it is more elevated than the rest. The leaping figure came over the rock.
Okay.
So let us handle a thing or two. Surprise. I'm going to. I am missing, if there is one, the infamous surprise roll common to all 1970s role-playing texts. I am missing, probably due to incompetence, precisely how you figure out whether you are or not surprised. They give the example that a fast, large man with a long weapon can be slow to react when a dwarf with a short sword and 2 heads steps out of the wall. I cannot argue with that. So I'm going to say that your characters are in that situation, which will add 3 to your strike ranks. That is the effect. It adds 3 to your strike rank when you're surprised. That's what it does, evidently. So the question is whether you're surprised. Jonathan is not surprised due to his listen roll.
He is a bit of a fly on his back.
That too.
Yeah.
Whereas Alkerton and Binri must make some sort of wherewithal roll at this time to see whether they are surprised. I'm going to suggest that what with everything going on, that both of you were at least a little cautious about being here, that you are not, I'm not going to make it like intelligence by itself, but I'll pop it to a much more basic and easy roll of intelligence times 5.
Okay.
Considering both of you have expressed that your characters have at least one ear cocked to the wind about being here at all.
So succeed on that one. 40.
Mm-hmm.
And Binri fails with an 83.
Oh, goodness. So you are in the shocked and awed category. Add 3 to your strike rank for whatever it is you plan to do. What does everyone plan to do? The man with the axes is going to strike at apparent random at somebody near him.
Well, I guess Alkerton's trying to identify him and also get some distance.
Mm-hmm. Binri, what will you do?
Binri is scrambling to pick up his spear and shield and move towards this menacing figure. Calling out, "What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Leave us alone."
Excellent. Okay. So since you have stated an action or two, right? Preparing a weapon, I believe, is probably the best. Is probably the best description of what you're doing.
Sounds fine to me.
They speak of drawing the weapon, which I think is probably a little less, a little bit more elaborate than what you have to do. Considering that you're sure that you stuck the spear and shield in a way that you could grab them out of sheer habit, is my guess.
Yeah.
Especially because part of that is that Binri fancies himself a warrior. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sort of, yeah. So, therefore, that's going to be a 5 strike rank thing to do. So, therefore, you have 3 and 5. If you're not going to do any moving, then you're going to come in at strike rank 8.
Yeah, and then my spear has.
Oh, are you actually planning on attacking as well?
Well, I guess I'm brandishing it, so I don't know. Yeah, no, I guess actually you're right. The way to think of it is I'm kind of preparing a block with my shield to try and get in his way. Okay. So yeah, I guess that becomes irrelevant as to what I'm forgetting what the strike rank for my spear is meant to be. Oh, there it is, 6. Okay.
So what I'm saying is you're already at 8.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be moving in on an attack with the spear or otherwise, you're past 12, and so therefore you don't have time to complete that. Okay. So
yeah, I think that's
okay.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I mean, he's going to move in with his shield and spear, but the chance that he's going to be able to do anything seems slim.
Excellent. So, all right, with the addition of the movement, you're going to be coming in at strike rank 11. We'll talk to you in just a moment for those things as you are scrambling to do all of that. Alkerton.
Yeah.
You said what you were going to do. So part of it is the doing something else. is right. So you are disengaged at the moment, and
Yeah.
so you are able to do other things. I would say 3 points is sort of the generic action. So
Okay.
3 points for your perception, and whatever it is for your movement. So every 3 meters is so the way you described it to really get distance, 3 meters minimum, maybe more. So do you want to go more than that? Like get a good over 10 feet away?
Yeah, so I guess he's going to try and I sort of see him as sort of stepping back,
Right,
staring at
right,
this masked figure and
right,
trying to
right,
find some kind of cover as well at the same time. He can get behind a tree or something.
right. Okay, so that's going to put you at actually a very low strike rank at 5.
Okay.
Otherwise, and so then, Ian, what are you going to do?
Well, the first thing is go off the floor. The second thing I'm going to do is look what June is doing, because I kind of have a plan,
Okay.
which is I may attempt to, if June decides to be, I am a warrior, I may attempt to effectively do a knockback to kind of push her so that she kind of stumbles and falls. Something that I plausibly isn't the same as me getting out a spear and attacking her, which to everybody around looks obvious, but more kind of in the confusion. Whoops.
You're going to have to do the skill slate,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
you will also have to, and so the push basically, yeah. So that's gonna you don't have a lot of weapon length on that, so that's gonna give you a strike rank 4. To do the slate with it makes strike rank 7. So therefore you have, and then your dex. Oh, I forgot about that. Your dexterity is what?
17. So it's
Oh,
death strike rank of 1.
yeah. So therefore you're going to be coming in at 8. What's your dex, Binry?
My dex is 9.
Oh, wow. So you're going to add. I told you before that you were coming in at strike rank 8. You're going to be coming in at strike rank 11. So, Alkerton, you're first. Make that perception roll.
Okay.
Oh, and I should concern myself with him too, shouldn't I? The axe fellow. So
Yeah.
let's see what his strike rank is coming in at. He has done movement. He has what is his dex anyway? All right, he's actually coming in pretty fast at 5 or 6. So first is going to be Alkerton.
It's perception roll. I've got scan. Is that what you'd like, Ron, or something different?
I think that scan's the only one I can think of, really.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have very subtle skill nuances in this game.
No, 45. I'm afraid. Skill of 30.
Okay. Right. So you don't quite see who he is.
Okay.
And so then, but your listen roll also lets you know there's somebody else following up on him very quickly.
Okay.
I will tell you one thing, that your fact that you're just looking at him in an observant way will pick up. His movements that cover ground, his actual mobility, is about double what another person's would be. It's why he's able to jump in like this and attack oriented this damn fast.
Okay.
And you're magic trained.
Can I shout a warning, or is that a bit unnecessary, really?
You've got tons of strike rank, but that's another 3 strike ranks to finish that up. So that'll come in at, I think, at about 8.
Okay.
And his attack will come before the warning.
Fine. Okay.
So therefore, his attack is next, and I have got. Oh, by the way, just to let you know, there, Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody put a wicked knife that, under ordinary circumstances, would be used for skinning into your hand. Very Irene actually slid that to you when she was talking to you.
I bet I was going to say, I bet I know what that was.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Right. Set at random. He was striking at random. And he's not going to, and that actually isn't going to be at Jonathan, and is an Alkerton's out of range. So, ooh, also quite nasty to be hitting somebody like that with one of those. Somebody get the, just because of all the damn pages to look up, can somebody get the hit location table out?
Sure, it's right on my character sheet here.
What's a 15?
A 15 is a right arm.
5 points of damage to an unarmored person's right arm right next to him. Which basically, so an axe lashes out, and one of his axes lashes out, chops into somebody's upper right arm, opens it right up, and blood sprays over everybody. That is not twice what that arm can take, so it is not maimed or severed, but it is rendered useless, having had all of its hit points used up, and the person falls to the ground in shock, bleeding copiously. There's a chance that it's either Benry or June, but there's a bigger chance that it's someone else. So I shall pick an appropriate die for such a roll. Okay, it's someone else. I'm going to say that, did you hear that the fellow chopped into one of your compatriots and it was nobody with a name?
Okay.
But it doesn't hurt any less. His arm is badly wounded. It is not maimed or severed, but it is rendered useless, and so he has had his arm chopped open. Blood sprays as he waves his arm, screaming. Blood sprays over everybody, and the person is collapsing in shock.
Okay.
So that's quite an entrance that this fellow with an axe made. And as I said, he is moving in this weird lightning-like way, which is actually very disorienting and frightening to watch. And so almost as if he were strobed and you were not.
Okay, yeah.
And then the next person to go is you with your shoving at June, correct?
Yep. Okay. So what do we do? I have a conceal skill, 25%, which I guess is the thing that I would be using to cover my actions. But otherwise, I guess it's a knockback attempt.
No, slate is okay. Slate is the way. And you're just going to have to take the base at that because everybody's probably got a base in slate. Now that I think about it, cynical as that sounds.
So it would be. It's not on your sheet, so I guess it must be on the just basic sheet,
right? For
RuneQuest, which I can find in just a second.
No, don't worry about that. It should be it should be a score that's actually in my list. Underneath stealth.
Yeah, I can't see that one.
Okay, never mind that. Yeah. Just go ahead and let's spitball it.
You've got hide, move quietly, camouflage, and conceal.
Well, then I guess I meant to write slate, but didn't. Please go ahead and roll 15% or less just to see how we do.
Okay, I've got a stealth bonus 15%.
Yeah, good enough then. Wow. All right then, 30%. That's ridiculous.
22.
Wow. You might want to check that as a successful skill, use of slate. And I also want you to now shove June in a fashion that nobody sees you do. You are such a little shit.
I am, yes.
We're all kind of hoping for the redemption moment.
To stab some of myself, do I?
I'm kind of hoping for the redemption moment, but I'm okay if it doesn't come. That's totally up to you. It's just kind of interesting. It's more than
I think it's
a lot of fun.
It's too early for redemption, right?
Hey, I never front load story. We'll see how you feel when you feel it, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So go ahead and go ahead and roll for that. This did you have the knockback rules to check out, or is it just
I
basically
can
a strength attack?
find it in a second. I think it's basically something like my strength versus size versus her size. Here we go.
That's right. I remember that. Some god awful thing. Boy, they were
size attack,
obsessed with
size of,
size in this game. They
against
really
size
were.
of dex of the target. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
So my strength and size, it's not huge. It's 20. It's 20. It's an average of 10, I guess.
Well,
Against
her
her
size
average
is
size.
actually reasonably big, so but she's only averagely strong. I actually think she's a bit of a shove. You're probably going to have to be at 45%.
All right. Let's give it again. 24.
Wow.
Oh,
I succeeded at something to RuneQuest. This never happens.
the dice are-
You have actually been rocking and rolling through this whole thing, spotting
I have, yeah.
the dude
I've got
skulking
three.
off
I've got
and
3
listening
chicks
all over
tonight.
the place. Yeah. So go ahead and shove her. Yeah, she goes staggering. Which way did you shove her?
Towards the man with the hatchets.
Oh my God! All right. So yeah, there she goes.
You can see what I'm doing. You can see what I'm doing here, right?
June is
Plausible deniability, but
June is staggering toward the guy with the hatchet, and Gordon, then your move comes in, and you acquire your spear and your shield, and that's the end of our round, I think. Unless you had mentioned other things that you might get to start doing at that point, and I will say that your character has initiated those things.
So at this point, the other thing at this point I have seen him start. I've seen him moving about and behaving in unnatural ways. So how does the strike rank rules work with using a spell?
They are, strangely enough, the strike rank rules are extremely clear on this matter. And so there's a great deal of yip yap about focuses and preparation in spells. I personally find those annoying to read in every imaginable way. So I am going to say that what spell are we talking about?
So I have a binding spell.
Right, I see. We shall treat that as prepared, probably generously. And your dex does apply, yeah, or is it for spells, magical attacks, and strike rank? There's a whole section here. This is amazing. Okay, right. I'm going to say that your binding may well actually be inscribed into the haft of your spear.
Yeah, I was thinking
That's standard for weapon wielders and combat magic.
Yep.
And I would say that you may well you carried your spear as an outrider. It may well be the notion of should you catch sight of game that you guys want to take down. Your role was more of the lancer rather than the arrow shot guy.
Exactly.
So therefore, to put binding on it to slow down the prey is very standard for you. So yeah. Therefore, you don't have to add 5 to your strike rank to free up your focus. So number 1. So
Yeah.
therefore, 0. That spell goes off by itself on your basis of your dexterity and on the basis of the power used. Your dexterity is a little low. That's a 3. Well, how much
Right.
power are you throwing into this?
Well, it is a 1-point spell. I think that means that's what I can throw into it.
Perfect. So therefore, that has strike rank 0. You're actually coming in at strike rank 3. This is something that's going to happen real quick.
Yeah, that totally makes sense here. As he moved up, he did all the stuff, he saw what was going on, and right at the start of the next round,
right.
he'll try and lock it down a little bit.
Sure. Let's look at the other strike ranks just to kind of lay it all out. Alkerton.
Yeah. So it is round 2.
Ah,
Has
for the
anyone?
days when I can call out, what are you doing and what is your strike rank? And you guys will rattle it off like,
Yeah.
uh,
So
utopia. Go on.
we've got only one Axeman at the moment, have we?
Say again, please.
One Axeman at the moment, or Hatchet Man.
Yes, correct.
I think I'm going to ask my familiar to try. No, my spirit to try and possess him, take him down, control him.
The spirit, yeah, spirit combat.
Yeah.
Sure. For you to organize that, that's going to be 3 strike ranks as just basically an action.
Okay, my base is 6, I
Yeah.
think.
And so, and yes, well, hold on. Then the rest is your dex. So, your dexterity is what again? Sorry about.
It's all right. It's not very good, from what I recall. His dexterity is 7. Yes.
Oh, wow, you're okay. So that's gonna be coming in at 7.
Okay,
All
fine.
right. And so then, neither of you's using a weapon. Binri.
So I
Oh, wait,
exert.
sorry. No, my mistake.
Yeah.
Jonathan. Action.
Can I see what Urine is doing?
Yoreen apparently is casting a spell.
Okay.
Stepping back on the rock, back out of the melee area.
Okay. I'm gonna. I presume I don't have like my sling with me, right? I didn't think of bringing that to the party. Presumably, so I've only got this knife. I think he's going to back up a couple of steps a minute to try and move away from the melee and see what the result of his action is. I don't think he's ready to stab somebody yet. I think that's too direct at this point. So I think he's going to step back and watch.
Okay, well, not to be too blunt, but you've kind of done enough such that June is the obvious target of his next strike. And so his attack will be coming in. Let's see. So he's got that insane dexterity of his. That's 1 plus 2 for the weapon, plus his own size, which is 2. For an attack, we worry about the size of the question. So therefore, 1, 2, and 2 makes 5. So 5 is actually pretty damn fast coming in. So the real question is the binding first. Oh, and then the person who's doing all the movement at the moment will come in last as he arrives. So it is it's your attack, and so that's a power versus power.
Okay.
On the resistance table for Binri.
Right, and this is where Binri is odd because he doesn't have a lot of spells or such, but he does have that 17 power.
Oh, Jesus. You guys are both like power bunnies.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
you have got a 70% chance.
And I have an 18.
Excellent. Well done.
Yes, you have a check your power. You're going to have a power gain roll later. However, and is it that roll doesn't count for it, does it? For the power gain? I don't think so.
I don't know.
But more importantly, the more importantly is that basically you speak the words, make the gesture, the focus on your spear, basically sends out sparks, and the binding has hit him. It counteracts. You can feel the magic flash. It counteracts the mobility that had been cast upon him.
Okay.
And so. Right. All right, so you have a power gain roll coming to you at the end of the session. So now I want so that comes in. The next one, actually, his strike on on June, I mean, his strike on June comes in just before the spirit nails him.
Right. Okay.
And so, and his goal was to strike and then move very, very, very rapidly after he hits. So, or hits or misses. We'll find out in just a moment, won't we?
He seems worryingly competent.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. And hitting with a 68 actually. So he does. And can someone roll the d20 and tell me where it hits on her?
17.
Oh,
that-
it's 15 last
that
time.
an arm?
17.
Right.
I need to look at the table.
17 is the left arm.
Okay. Right. Well, he's striking out here and here. Fortunately, her size has helped her in her hit points, and so therefore she is not going to lose that arm either. But just like with the other slash, basically it does almost twice as much damage as the arm can take. And so therefore the arm is rendered useless, and she is overcome by shock. She is and is bleeding freely. And so, yeah, that's the second person that he has wounded severely in as many seconds, basically. And so, yeah, June is screaming. She didn't have a weapon. I believe it is Call of Cthulhu that adds the dodge skill, which shows up in all later editions of RuneQuest. This RuneQuest has no dodge.
Yeah, you just get a defense ability, don't you, which
Right.
subtracts the attacker's attack.
Some of you have intrinsic defense, but not very many of you. It's a fairly hard thing to have. And so therefore, if someone shoots an arrow at you, it's all about whether they hit you. And if somebody strikes at you and you don't have a way to parry, it's all about whether they hit you. So just don't, that particular buffer is not present in this game. So therefore, yes, June, screams in agony, and so that's two people screaming in agony at once, and then he then attempts to bolt with like a sprint, and is evidently sort of surprised to discover that he only moves, he does a couple of movement units. And is surprised to discover that no, he has not exited the area like he thought he would. Matter of fact, that leaves him within range of Binri's spear, which is a long weapon, when he had actually wanted to get considerably away from that. At that point, in comes, everybody's gone. In comes the spirit. So you're sending the spirit to make the attack, correct? So your bound spirit, your bird, basically flies in and basically lands on him. As it lands on him, for such a tiny bird to like fold its wings in kind of a menacing, enveloping motion seems kind of absurd, except that it's not.
Yeah.
The englobing effect of spirit combat instantly occurs. And so it's almost like he's in a hemisphere of force. And so and spirit combat's initiated. I'll let you roll for the spirit, and he'll roll back. You said spirit is 17, correct?
19. How?
19.
I'm 17. Yeah.
Holy crap! Well, he's not that bad. He's got a power of 13. But up against a 19 is really beautiful. That's going to be an 80 a loss. He's got a 20% on his attack. You got a 80% on yours. So let me grab some dice, the appropriate dice for this and for that. All right. He is going in with his 20%. He misses.
Ooh, not sure if it means anything. 08.
I don't think that counts for. I don't think they're criticals.
Okay.
But let's find out about spirit combat and take a look at its.
It's not super low, is it? I suppose.
As I recall, it's rather nasty. That's shamans. You can tell Greg Stafford was involved. Spirit combat is before the spell list, or is it? Maybe I'm wrong on that one.
43 in my version.
I just kind of like the way that here you are reading all this kind of role playing magic, stuff. I mean, role playing magic and how much it costs in points and like what it does to movement rate and all the rest of it. And then all of a sudden you're getting a lesson in shamanism in the next paragraph.
Yes.
Like, oh, look at that. How'd that happen? So the deal here is that it's only success. The winner now rolls D100 as if rolling on the power increase roll. So, and I really hate that because then I have to flip back to here. So, with a roll,
it's already laid out between the two sections, isn't it?
Right. And so basically, as far as I can tell, since the attack is successful, current power from 21. You rolled a 08, is that correct?
Yeah.
Well, shit, man, he loses 3 power like right out of the gate.
Good.
So and yeah, basically that is hit.
Okay.
And so yeah, your bound spirit is basically draining his power as we speak, and he is unless he chooses to ignore this and just lets it soak his power. He's going to have to stop what he's doing. So then another man lands in the area. He is not moving in the same way, and he is. He's not moving in that hyper speeded way, but he is the one who is producing an almost unearthly speaking in tongues gabble of. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's gabbling in a speaking in tongues way. He is armed with spear and, oddly, a shield which he does not seem to be paying any attention to. In fact, the spear kind of like, as he arrives, the spear kind of clatters and rolls off, and he's got his spear in both hands. So it's like he was carrying the shield, but all of a sudden, he's just forgotten it. So, and he also is masked, but at this point, the mask is slightly askew. That's what, and he's just arrived, and I would say let's be nasty. Let's be nasty and say just how dramatic is his entrance in the worst way possible. Somebody, he does not succeed, but he basically is jabbing at somebody upon arrival, and whoever it is screaming and running, so he misses. Bless you. So that's the end of that round.
Okay.
Certain things. The first man is not mobile at this time and is unable to parry for anybody who's interested. So there will be no defensive roll from him should you strike at him, nor would I think there is his ordinary. Well, put it this way: there may be a little bonus there. And then the other person is recognizable to all of you because you know him. That's Jodney.
Hmm. Okay.
So, Matthew, what are you typing out of curiosity?
Oh, sorry, I'm just making notes as you talk. So
Oh,
just
that's
typing
okay. Notes are
page,
fine. I mean,
but-
it's fine. I'm not objecting. I was just curious.
No, it's all right.
So-
So I tend to type as you jot as you mention things,
Right,
Ron,
right.
because I forget what's going on.
Mhm.
But it doesn't always make too much sense to me.
Yeah, I know. Then it's like
I've
the
got-
notes I take during gaming. I'm like, what on earth? What on earth was I trying to say?
But it's kind of helpful for me to reorientate. I've got like
Sure.
half a page from today already.
Excellent. So what's happening this round, everybody? You're in RuneQuest combat. You're going to lose a limb if I have my way.
Yeah. So Jodney is coming on the offensive, I guess, the looks of it. Yes. I guess I'll try and. I mean, I guess my thought is whether to spirit combat him myself. If I can do that
please?
twice.
No, you cannot engage in spirit combat as if you cannot engage in spirit combat as an embodied person
Okay, fine.
upon another embodied person, unless you get a fetch. Then you're allowed to do that.
Fine.
But
So
you haven't got one yet.
keep my spirit fighting the first guy then.
Right.
And can Alcaton act independently, or does he have to use action to direct his spirit, Ron?
No, the spirit is an independent being now. You're fine. Okay. Your action was directing it in the previous round. You were not actually doing it. So therefore, you are autonomous at this time and able to do as you please.
Okay, so I guess he's keen to pull the mask off this one man and grab his axe.
Ah, okay. Wow, that's pretty ballsy of you, actually.
Why the fuck not?
Yeah. And so then, Binri, what are you gonna do?
So Binri will, I guess, see Jodney as the bigger danger / challenge at this point. And remembering what he saw June do earlier, he's going to go ahead and repeat those words that she used from the end of the training session, just like she did, and move in on Jodney and just try and smack him upside the head with the spear.
Oh my God, he just articulated the truth and death runes. We've got to make this mean something. We've got to do something with this one. All right, this is spitballing a little bit, guys. This is not textual, but I'm going to have him do a power versus power roll on Jodney.
Yeah.
And that'll alter strike rank if it succeeds. That's what I have in mind. Okay. Basically, he's filling the air with power when he does this. And so go ahead and grab Jodney's power here. Oh, so many NPCs. There we are. Okay, so and you've got an insane power. What is it?
17? So I'm 17 on my power. I rolled a 62.
You succeed. Okay. Mark yourself a power gain roll. Check. Because for overcoming somebody's power with yours. And then I want you to... So yeah, basically what that means is that your strike ranks at this point aren't that different. And you just added 3 to his. So therefore you're going to come in first if you're going to attack him. Okay, so as I recall, your spear attack was at strike rank 6, and we'll call it 6 or 7 based on any movement, and so therefore I'll call it there.
Cool.
What are you going to do for Jonathan? Maybe a bit of a moment of truth as you see June's blood and see her scream and how badly she's hurt. It's up to you. I make no recommendation.
I think the thing is, the only thing I can think is at this point, I mean, a lot of his motivation, I think, is fear, right? He's afraid of what he's got himself into. He's kind of half afraid of Urine. But he doesn't like Jodney much because, you know, right. And Johnny's after Binri, which so far he's been quite loyal to Binri when he's seen Binri threatened.
Right.
So I think
that's true.
Maybe he's going to go in there alongside Binri.
All right. All right.
Yes.
So we have. Okay, so that does mean you're going to be attacking Jodney. Is the plan?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll be coming in a little after because of the shortness of the weapon is going to drop your. It's going to drop your. It's going to add.
Or I think
it adds a bunch of strike rank to you. So yeah. The RuneQuest rules, I'm afraid, really favor great big guys with great big long weapons.
Yes.
And like all good role-playing games, completely underestimate the utter murder power of a knife. So, let's see. Go ahead and you're coming in last then. Good enough. Let's take it step by step. The spirit combat, I don't know if it has its special stage in the combat go, and nobody's using missile weapons or spells at this point. So I don't think we have to worry about that as a phase. Here we go.
He's going to 10 power now, isn't he?
Yeah, he is at 10. Okay, so the statement of intent, movement of non-engaged characters. Oh, okay. Well, we handle your movement first for Jonathan. So you close, and the movements that you guys make. Binri and Jodney basically have chosen each other as targets, as obvious targets, and they are going to move in on each other. Clearly, Binri is easily the physically most dangerous looking character at the moment, and Jodney is responding to that. And so the two of you are basically going at each other. So whatever movement that involves, less than a couple meters probably, they take it. And then we move into the resolution of melee missiles or spells in striking rank order. Before that happens, I think we'll handle the spirit combat. Alkerton, what was Alkerton's actual action again? Because I'm kind of an idiot.
So he's grabbing the mask and the hatchet.
Oh, that's right. Right, you're going in. Okay, that's a close thing, but and a little bit of movement.
Yeah.
So the action itself doesn't take much time, but it's going to come in just after the spear clashes. So right now we've got spear combat. We've got wait, sorry, spirit combat first.
Yeah.
Spirit combat first, and tell me where we get with it.
So will it be 95.5, I think?
I believe so.
Yeah. So I roll 45 that time.
Okay, and he rolls horribly, and gets nowhere. So what did you roll again? A 45?
45.
As I recall, that is going to knock off another point of power. So 14, increase 1142, right? 4100. Yeah. So yeah, that's gonna hit, and so at that point, I believe you're at the 95 level of power, so we probably don't have to roll again, except to see for a fumble.
Yeah. So after this,
and also to see how much power he drains each time.
Yeah.
And he'll only succeed in a roll if he gets like a 5 or less. So let's do it. Let's see. So basically, at this point, you can tell that the man is. In fact, I'll even have the mask slip off at this point.
Okay.
And it's Mard. It's Yorine's father. So excellent. So let's go ahead and have the next thing, spear on spear. I believe the way we do it is that who's ever coming in at strike rank first He is not exactly fighting all that scientifically. Let's just run it down by dex then. What's your dexterity for Binri?
9.
9, that's right. Well, then he'll have to come in first, I'm afraid. So he actually, strangely enough, misses, which is really unfortunate for him. So yeah, he wildly pokes with his spear. You can tell, you know what? He's actually literally drooling.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So yeah. So that's why I was surprised he missed. Yeah. So
It's like fanaticism, something like that.
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
he's running.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why you've abandoned the shield, because you don't have any defenses, right?
Yeah,
So therefore, so somebody set these guys up with mobility and fanaticism out there in the woods.
yeah.
So go ahead and take your shot.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to try and see if I can't knock some sense into him, as they say. But 49 is not going to be good enough. My skill is just not that great.
Yeah. So you guys
So
are
I try,
right. You guys
but
are
fail.
so good. You guys are at it, and then we have the next person to go is the grab.
Okay, is that for me to get this thing?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So I'm going to
So-
try and take the hatchet, the mask.
And so actually it's pretty easy considering that he's basically immobilized. So I'm actually going to just say it's not even really an attack
Okay.
so much as, well, let's see, do you have any attack bonus?
I think I have +5 actually.
Okay.
Something.
Well, you know, that would give you a base 30, but that's against a consciously defending, active
Yeah.
opponent. So I'm going to basically just, go ahead and roll, and if it's, like a fumble, then you fail. But other than that, you're
It's not
fine.
too bad. 35 actually.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's interesting. Yeah, you actually succeeded in your grapple if you needed to. So you are going to you are going to grab and easily pull away the mask and was it the mask or the hatchet?
I did if I can get both, but otherwise you
Right.
said the mask slipped off anyway, because I'd go for the
Right.
hatchet.
Excellent. Okay. Well, he had two. So, basically, yeah, you get in there and you wrestle on him, and he can't really defend himself because he's in spirit combat. So you manage to get them away. You disarm him.
Cool.
Okay. So then, and by being in contact like that and with your bound spirit right there, you know that the bound spirit has him. Basically, he will kill this man if you permit.
Yeah.
So, and so then you have your attack on Jodney, I believe, with the dagger. So
Yeah.
the base is, I don't know if you're trained up in that, but the base is 25%, and then plus your attack bonus.
Yeah, I figured that out. It's a little earlier for you, so it's 35. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's
There are worse.
give it a shot. There are worst until I rolled 96.
Oh, yikes!
Now you're working for the good team. You're
Hold
nice.
on.
That is a fumble. Or you're now working with you
I
guys.
believe it may well be a fumble.
There's a handy chart somewhere if I can only find it.
I'm well aware of the handy chart. It's one of the most infamous charts in gaming.
So the fumble table, yeah, I've got it here on page 23.
Okay, so go ahead and roll on it. As I recall, I just wanted to make sure that we're doing it right.
54.
Oh dear.
I think there's a misprint in it. It says fail and lose parry this round takes D3 rounds to get up. So I assume it means fall and lose parry this round takes D3 rounds to get up.
Okay. So you're going to basically sprawl all over the place.
Yeah. So my attempts to basically aid Binri has resulted in me actually tripping on basically one of the logs by the fire or something and going, splat onto my face instead.
Probably one of the people who was wounded.
Yeah, oh yeah, maybe even June's lying on the floor screaming.
Yeah, and
It's kind of like poetically appropriate.
Right. Since this is going to be plain old dumb luck, let's see if you can make a power times 5 roll right now.
94, so no.
You go right into the fire.
Yeah, okay.
And so, yeah. Ouch.
Look up the rules for fire damage now.
You go right ahead and you go right ahead and hurt yourself. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, insult to injury. Roll on the fumble table. Whatever damage you take, you got to roll it yourself.
It's looking like it's saying 1d4 damage to a hit location would be the way I can read this right now.
Hit location is 1, which I believe is one of your legs. And so that is going to be, so one of your legs is going to get d4 damage, which in this case happens to be only 1 point of damage to one of your legs. Okay.
A bit of a burn. Right. Okay.
So
cool.
And so next round, the only combatant that I actually have another combatant in mind as well. Quite a nasty one, as a matter of fact. The only person that I need to deal with, of course, aside from the spirit combat, is Jodney. Jodney is attempting to kill Binri to death.
Yeah. Just let you know, Ron, that I said on a fumble I'm sprawled for D3 rounds, so I just rolled a D4, so that's 2 rounds.
Right.
So I guess I might need to make another luck roll to avoid this round, to avoid fire damage.
Yes, that's your problem, is continuing to actually I plan to be actually a little nastier than that. I'm just going to do fire damage to you.
Okay.
We know how lucky you were. You weren't. So let's take it then for strike rank wise. I believe the spirit combat comes first. So at this point, if you roll personnel, Matthew, on that one. Oh, also Matthew, what are you going to do? Forgot.
Well, I think seeing Jonathan fall and Binri under attack, I'm going to move with a hatchet to support Binri.
Ah, wow. Okay.
I mean, a bit stupid. They're not very good in combat, but at least it's, a bit of help.
Oh, that's actually pretty bold of you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, Matthew, I'm going to say that this is just for dramatic effect. Speaking of dramatic effect, you're huge again.
I keep sit back. Sorry, move my head into listen. Sorry.
Yeah, but the for dramatic effects, and since you don't have to worry about the burning part because you're moving through it deliberately and it's not that big a fire, you go right through the fire. So you actually come right out of the flames.
So I'm trying to scare this city culture.
And now that
I'm thrashing about it under your feet. Yeah,
that's right. So yeah, so there you go. We have some attacks coming in. You've got movement and a shorter weapon with the axe, so you're not going to come in afterward. Roll the spirit roll just to see a couple of things. Number one.
Yeah, not great. 77. So, 17 actually. Sorry, I misread it. 17. So not too bad.
Well, basically, you can actually, everybody, if you were looking, you can actually see the man's spirit dying.
Excellent.
It's really dwindling. Basically, your bound spirit, your nice little tiny bird that's always been your little buddy that everybody associates with you, is draining his existence right out of the world.
And his child, is he or she with us? I forgot the name of Mard's child.
Yoreen.
And is she with us still, or is she?
She is not visible at this time.
Okay,
and I mean that fully, literally. Let's go ahead and have the spear attack come in. And this time, I'd say the strike ranks are basically identical. So go ahead and just both of you roll your attacks, and we'll see what happens.
Well, Binri is boldly. Maybe he's confused about this training that he got with something else. So that is 88 will not have an impact.
Yeah, this is sort of teen comic. Can somebody roll on the fumble table for me, please?
That is a lose next D3 attacks. 22.
Oh my god. All right. Well, all of the underfoot screaming and bleeding has just completely tripped up Jodney, and he seems to have completely lost his footing and his focus on his attack. So even though I'm going to play it that he is actually still trying to attack, his feet are not under him well enough for it to be successful. He's actually scrabbling, but somewhat irrationally still trying to attack. All right, so that leaves us with you now taking to another hit to roll the hit location and the D4 on yourself, please.
13 with hit location, which is a lovely, right in the right arm.
Oh.
And
It's
the
all
damage.
arms and legs. Can't anybody take any damage in the damn abdomen these days?
Not in
And
RuneQuest.
2 points of fire damage to my right arm. So presumably I try to push myself out of the fire with my hand that is now basically.
You get some distance, right? You're in there for 2 rounds, so you get some distance. It's just you burn yourself on the way. Well, that's the thing I want to check on though, because if there is an unaware bonus, it would apply at this time.
Oh, so they've got right above that fumble table. Actually, they say attacking from advantage. An attacker has a 20% greater chance of hitting an opponent when the opponent is on the ground, otherwise immobilized or unaware of him.
You got it, man. You nailed him. Roll your damage.
Right, so I'll tell you, find a D20 first. So it's on the 5s, whatever that is, and
where does the 5 hit? Is that a leg?
Sorry, wrong page. Hang on.
5 is left leg. Yes.
Yep, that's what I thought.
And so I'm going to find the damage for a hatchet, unless you know offhand, Ron.
Yes, I do. D6 plus 1, plus whatever strength you've got.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think he's got any strength for Alcaton. That's pretty good. So 7 damage.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Strength of 12. So that's no bonus, is it? I don't think I've got any bonus strength.
Oh my god.
That's terrifyingly competent.
More than that. More than that, his leg buckles. I mean, you actually chop straight into his leg and it buckles. And so yeah, that's some serious damage. He actually has a point of armor there, but even with the armor, you have actually equaled the hit points of that leg. You have rendered it an unusable leg.
Excellent.
And so yes, that was an extremely effective strike. Gordon, you're going to have plus 20% on him on your next.
The damage roll there.
And so then that, I believe, finishes us for the round, except for, well, we'll just wait on the except for. Next round, actions.
So maintain spirit combat on first guy, and then I guess are you falling over, Gordon? I need to help you up, or you?
No, he's not.
No. So far he's been unable to get to me.
Okay, so I'll take another swing again, I suppose, at some point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so Ian's got one more round in the fire when he comes back. Binri,
from Binri's standpoint, is his opponent still a threat in any way? Is he still trying to lash out at me?
He is absolutely still trying to lash out at you.
Okay, well then I guess I will
absolutely ignore. He is not screaming in pain. He is absolutely ignoring the terrible wound he just received.
Okay, well then I will be stabbing my spear at him.
You're first.
And I have a 22.
Okay. Well, you have hit him, and since that's within your skill range, you can check it off as a success.
Yeah.
And so roll hit location, please.
So I've got a location of 12.
Chest.
Oh my God. Here it
Huh.
comes. D8
But I have,
plus 1.
yeah,
Do you have a
for
strength
mine,
bonus?
the D8 plus 1 is 6, and I have a D4 strength bonus, but I rolled a 1, so that's 7.
Total?
7 total, yes.
That's good. He really lost 7, isn't he?
You have, and you didn't get an impale on that one, did you?
No,
So,
no.
therefore, he takes the spear into his chest. And it's a nasty, it's a nasty strike. But he's got just enough leather covering to keep off the worst of it. And so therefore twists away from it, and just it's like he twists away from it, so the point comes out and just comes back screaming, still striking, trying to strike at you. But the fumble is working against him because he lost a certain number of attacks due to the fumble. So therefore he cannot attack effectively, but he is trying. He, just like the wounds to the leg, he does not stop or acknowledge it. Just twists off of it. And so, therefore, but I will say that was actually pretty damn heinous. So, yikes. Okay, so that leads us to the last round in the fire, I believe. And so, therefore, do the damage to yourself. As you manage to get out of the fire this time, these are the burns you take alone.
Just 1 point in my head.
Oh man,
Your beard's caught fire here.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, probably very true.
Yeah.
But-
All right. So yeah, actually, I'm gonna say that you get a whole like singed off effect going on there for
Yeah.
Jonathan. So but you do manage finally to get out of the fire, and so
Joy.
yes. So then we have our next round.
Do you want to do spirit combat in my swing? Or is that not?
Go ahead and roll just to see. Yeah, go ahead, Matthew, and roll and see how that goes.
It was just a regular success, 67, I think. So.
Okay, right. So yes, he has no real chance. I'll see if he gets a critical and manages to get anywhere, but I'm not real optimistic. Nope. So therefore, yes, there's a the spirit combat is grinding away. And so then what are the actions that everybody's taking?
What's Irene doing? Can I see what she's doing?
She's absolutely not present visibly.
Okay.
And anybody else? So anyone else?
Well, I'm going to swing at Jodney again if he's still vaguely conscious.
Okay, he is. You're going to hack at him. What are you going to do, Benry?
Yeah, so Jodney, Benry will think that he's probably going to have to stab at Jodney again,
Okay.
but he will say, Jodney, what are you doing? Give this up. Kind of go ahead and let him prove that he's going to attack me this round, and when he does, I will attack back. Oh, give him a chance to do something different, but I'm not suspecting that he will. And I'm assuming that the implications of in order to do that, I'm going to let him get initiative over me.
Yes, exactly. That's why I just rolled a hit, which I did. So see if you can parry with your shield.
All right. See if I can put my shield in the way. My very best thing. Ooh, a 37. much closer than I wanted it to be, but I succeed with my 40% shield skill.
That's actually pretty awesome. Check your shield skill, and that's a good thing because that was a spear strike that could have been very nasty for you. So you have succeeded in parrying off his spear strike, and now you can roll to hit him.
Oh,
Not a fun.
So- no. 2. 0, 2. I think I impaled him.
You have impaled him. Roll your hit location.
Excellent.
I was kind of trying to not kill him. I roll a 17.
Which is
His left arm.
Yeah, left arm.
all right. So you do, and what? Well, first of all, we know your spear absolutely transfixes him, right? And I'm going to describe it in just a second. But I believe you get maximum damage, and then roll your extra damage on top of that for the impale plus survival.
So that'll be 9 plus 2 is 11.
Well, certainly that's enough to finish out his hit points. It also completely maims the arm itself. I'm going to say it actually takes him up through the armpit at the shoulder, and basically ruins the joint forever, and also severs the major artery there. The effect of that is that he basically loses too much blood in the next microsecond, the next heartbeat, literally. Loses too much blood with that next heartbeat to be able to maintain the use of his limbs, and basically folds into place, still stabbing at you with the spear, and each heartbeat empties his body of blood. And he basically, his eyes are still glaring at you in a fixed fashion, and the spear point is still, before the muscles give out, fixed exactly in your direction as he dies. You're actually looking directly into his eyes as he dies in that attempt to kill you from a sprawl.
Well, I'm appalled. Kind of take a step back and look around a little dazedly.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck is going on here?
And so, Matthew, roll the spirit combat.
Yeah. Ooh, 0-7.
Mard is gone.
Okay.
Mard basically collapses in a dry set of husks of tissue. And the bird, the spirit bird, shrieks in triumph.
Excellent. I'll bring him back to my shoulder.
Right.
Reward.
Yes. And so then we have. So basically, you, I imagine, are, kind of like almost in a sort of catch yourself in mid-strike kind of, recovery.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan, standing up, ow, 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 are there, and you have an. So what are you going to do? Because you do have an action. So does Alkerton. What are you guys going to do? Well, Alkerton, I'm going to say you had an action, but now you're kind of recovering from not making it.
Yeah.
Whereas, what was Jonathan planning on doing once he got up out of the fire?
I think the only thing he was really doing was to see what had happened to the kind of cause of all this pain, Urine. But it looks like she's gone, I think, at this point. And he's a hunter. I guess he could try tracking, but I feel a little bit like That's not on his mind right now. He's basically in pain from being burnt. He's probably wondering whether he can remember that heal one spell that he's got, effectively in fix anything. But also, I think he's just, traumatized by this whole situation a bit. I mean, I don't think he really, he anticipated the violence that he was bringing on everybody. He feels responsible for that.
I want you, given what you've just announced a minute ago, you didn't realize it, but you were calling for a listen and a scan. Please do both.
So, listen, I just fell at, and scan, I succeed at.
Oh my goodness.
Made a roll for the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was
right. Yorine's standing right behind you.
Really? Whoops.
And but fortunately, that gives you a chance to defend yourself as she stabs at you.
Yeah. Okay.
She rolls a 5.
Oh, Christ.
That's not good.
See if you can parry with your dagger.
Yeah, I will. So I've got 35% chance, and I roll 66, which is no use to me.
Hit, yeah, and also roll hit location. Or rather, I will roll, and then you tell me where I hit you. I roll a 20.
That's right in my head.
Uh-huh.
That's me in the head.
How many hit points do you have? How many hit points do you have in your head?
4 at the minute. Owing to burn injuries.
Oh no!
Oh,
all right.
Dear.
Well, let's take a look at our rules here, so I can tell you what happens to you.
Unconscious.
Yeah, usually, but equal to exceeded is unconscious or heal within 2 turns or die.
Well, basically, she puts it right into your face. And
ouch!
Like, you are, you have taken what is potentially a brain strike. So, guys, I would even say maybe even Alkerton's like, oh, it's over, right? And Benry's like, it's over. I killed him. Ah! And then he's like brushing himself off. He's like, ow, ow. And everybody's like, it's over. And then Yorine's standing right there, and it's just like, chunk right into his face.
How many points am I on, Rod?
How many? Yeah, she did 5 points of damage.
Oh, that's nice.
Exceeded. You are unconscious.
Good for your girlfriend.
You pitch backwards like a sack of grain.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess I'm hopeful that one of you guys has some healing magic and is feeling well disposed towards me.
Yeah.
Oh, there are mechanisms.
Yeah.
The current problem will be that Yorine is between you and us.
You get 2 full turns, so you know that's basically about 50 Malorats. So you get a chance to kill her before I die. Unless she's going to stab me even more.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Rounds? Actions?
So I'm going to say, my bird's still hungry and send my spirit at her again.
You're liking this.
Well, I think it's just, it's just a way to freeze her up quickly to save Jonathan, and then I can go and heal him if I get a chance.
Mm-hmm. So you're going to send that in.
Yeah.
Benry, what are you going to do?
Stand around appalled. Oh no. Yeah, he's gonna try and get between Yorine and Jonathan.
That's not a problem. Jonathan has hit the dirt.
And just look at her like, what, why, what are you doing? And go ahead and use that thing that Bakia showed me about using my shield as a weapon.
Got it.
Knock her away.
Right. So, what will I believe that in terms of speed, that the spirit will hit first.
Right.
So go ahead and roll for the englobing spirit attack. Basically, the spirit attack comes in first. Let me find
What's,
Doreen here. And let's see. As far as Mard was concerned, I'm trying to remember what happened to Mard. He had gone.
Might have been basically
Oh, that's right. No,
finished by
Mard
the
was
spirit.
killed by the spirit. Yeah, no wonder. Okay, yeah. So now you're up against. Yes. Okay, so. Wow. Boy, with a spirit like that, with power like that, you are just a brute. So, let's have you come in with that spirit attack right now.
Okay, so what's her power, Ron?
Her power is a 12.
So that's 785. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, she had cast invisibility on herself earlier, so that's actually she's at a 9. So this is really, really, really terrible.
And just make it anyway, just with 83, so a close one.
Yeah. And she actually doesn't do that bad. Even a 23 isn't going to work, I think. So not quite. So I think she had a 15% chance. So yeah, the spirit of combat is initiated. And Binri, are you going to attack her while she's in spirit combat?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, knocking her with the spear or with the shield to push her back further from.
It's a very, very easy strike. Roll anyway to
Yeah.
see if you roll under your skill for the increase.
So how do I calculate the skill for shield as a weapon?
It's just an attack of its own, and it has a base of 15, I think.
So, and my attack bonus is 10, so I hit it exactly with a 25.
Wow. Okay, so you basically it's just a weapon. I mean, I'll look up the details at some point or another, but
Yeah.
it may have like special shield bash rules or something like that, but I don't have that memorized. Even though I played up. Let's see. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. Let's use a shield there. It might actually be in one of the supplements, like in the Humacti section or something like that, rather than here. Note on shield use or, wargaming. Shields are for defense, So.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, we're at the moment we're just gonna treat it as at the moment we'll treat it as a warhammer for 1d6 plus 2 plus your strength bonus d6 d4 plus 2. Roll hit location 2.
So 6 and 9. 6 points, location 9.
What's location 9?
Is abdomen.
Excellent. So 6 points, you say?
Correct.
Okay.
Ouch.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's enough to drop her. She basically, folds and is coughing blood. She's not. Folds and is spits blood. And so the question is whether you're going to have the spirit kill her or not. Matthew.
Is the power loss still there if I let her go? Will she recover?
If you can keep the spirit on her, I'm going to say, just keeping her drained so that she doesn't recover the power.
Yeah. Okay. So can I get her sort of? I mean, she's unconscious now, isn't she? Because of
Right.
Binri's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to keep her. I'd rather not kill her if I could.
Right. Okay. So then you said you had a healing spell.
Yeah, so I guess now she's down, I want to go and help Jonathan with my mighty healing of one, I'm afraid, but it might be something
Well,
to
it'll keep him alive.
stabilize him. Yeah.
It will keep him. As long as he
Yes.
receives any healing at all, he will live.
Yeah.
Not bleeding to death is a good start.
Right. So, so yeah, that's the end of the combat. Other people have fled. You guys, Joreen is conscious. The other two people are conscious but in agony. And I want to actually double check on that consciousness part for the points exceeded in the locations. And if they had been like warrior types and all the rest of it, I probably would have had to look to see just how much they, right. Well, technically, they could have stood and fought, but they didn't have any weapons and they were kids, so, but basically they're able to, but once they're sort of, calmed a little bit, and if you want to spend more healing to keep them from bleeding out, or, from bleeding a lot, then you can do that. You got this power to spare after all. And so therefore, they can, you can get everybody home if that's what you do.
How quickly does power come back when you use battle magic?
There is a recovery rate to this that I'm not going to worry about right now.
Yes, it means a few points of power to patch people up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, you've got tons. So what with your bound spirit and everything, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. So, what else? How are you guys going to handle this? What are you going to do?
Although I'm going to be concerned about Jonathan. Is he conscious yet?
Yes.
So are you okay? That was awful.
How much healing did you give me? Like 2 points? One?
Well, the healing points can be restored with multiple. It's kind of interesting. If you want to just give him like enough so that he's positive in his head again, which would just be 2 points, that's fine. Suffice to say that you putting 2 single-point healing spells on somebody will give them 2 points back, but it's not the same as a 2-point healing spell in terms of coping with certain kinds of damage. However, that's not the problem in this case.
Yeah.
So by simply giving him 2 healing spells, he will be conscious and functional, although very, very hurt and unhappy.
Okay, I'll splash out.
You cannot repair him. You can give him his hit points back, but you can't repair him with just a 1-point healing spell. All it will do is give back 1 point.
Yeah. I'll give him 3 points back in his head. Yeah.
Right. So,
So I think he's obviously come around a bit, but he's still bloody and battered, probably. Right. And I think he's just withdrawn at this point. I don't think he's really saying anything very much. I think this has all gone horrifically wrong as far as he's concerned, and he's also terrified of the outcome, right? Because he knows what happened to him before when he went against the cult. He's gone against it again now, and as far as he's concerned, probably he's he's marked for death pretty much. And
does he want to tell his friends this at all? Like the man who just saved him from dying?
I think probably, but it's kind of come out, I suppose, incoherently mumbling, like, I'm dead, they'll come for me now. I'm dead. I'm sorry. And I think he'll also probably say, I'm sorry, Alkerton. I'm so sorry.
You guys will so put 2 and 2 together at this point. It's pretty obvious. Yeah. Good. Wow. Do you guys want to close here?
Yeah. Better get to sleep before work, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. This went actually quite late. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. No, it was a really good session.
Yeah.
That's what happens. RuneQuest gets to combat.
Yeah. And so I'd like to follow up on a couple of things when we get the chance, but probably just in the beginning of the next session when we play. You may wonder where Vakia was. I can tell you about that. And and this situation, believe me, is not over. Obviously.
Oh,
So.
Nope, no illusions.
Yeah. So excellent. All right, guys. Well, RuneQuest combat, nasty shit too, just nasty. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
live.
like any
Mobility spells,
best to be avoided.
mobility and fanaticism and invisibility. That's what you guys are up against.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's like any damage is likely to meet or exceed what you have there.
Right. Oh, armor is the only way. Armor up.
Yeah. Do we have a quick notion for the next session? And do we want to try and figure out various improvement rolls at the start of the next one?
Oh,
or-
sorry. Improvement rolls. They're always too much fun. Let's make our improvement rolls right now.
Okay.
And is that
It's
per
just the
skill or
reverse.
per success?
Per
Is
success.
it per skill?
Per
So it's
success.
per success.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Rolling
If you succeed, you get to roll, and it's 100 minus your ability, and you get an
Right.
bonus.
It's the converse. It's the converse of your.
Yeah,
Of your
no,
skill.
that completely makes sense. It's just the per success creates a lot more rolls.
What do you
that's
gain,
good, yeah.
Ian?
You're just boasting now, aren't you?
That's a fail.
What do you gain for the skill if you succeed?
5%.
Oh,
So,
cool.
so my scan goes up. I'm good at spotting people about to stab me in the eye.
Yep.
And with a power gain check, that's I have to guess.
That's
Have to roll
slightly
great thing.
trickier. Actually,
Yeah.
you've got a very low chance. It's the same thing, though. It's the converse of your power in terms of percent.
Okay,
So
fine.
you've got
Thank
a
you.
17 or something, so therefore 15%.
No, so but I got my law esotericus. That's something.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't get my hatchet, did I? Because I only succeeded because the bonus you gave me. I didn't actually beat my skill.
Correct.
Yes, I never managed to hit anything with a weapon this game.
So I think
But
that's
I've got better. I've got
Wait,
better.
that's not true. You slung the bird. That was a thing. That actually made
Yeah,
a difference in that fight.
That was an earlier session, though, wasn't it? Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, not this session. But I got better at scan and listen and slide, so that's actually quite a good thing, right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Gordon, how'd it go for you?
Yeah, so I had a couple of spear successes, but I only got an improvement from one. I got an improvement from my shield as defense. I got my improvement from my shield as weapon. I got an improvement on my scan. I don't. If I understand the math right for my power, I did not succeed at any of those. The two of those that I had as using.
Okay.
Oh wait, how does that work for?
So I think,
It's
Gordon,
just
for what you're saying, just one thing to pick up on, Gordon, just what you're saying is you get one roll, no matter how many times you succeed during the session.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too bad. Good enough. Everybody has their successes, I think, down. Little improvement happened. Quite a bit of interesting outcomes occurred. And you guys have made it through a fairly run combat and lived, which is saying something. So,
just about.
Yeah.
I know
What to
the
do with this
feeling.
skill now?
I caught fire and got stabbed in the head.
I'm actually quite pleased with the way that one worked out.